Chapter 842. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. With such a mentality, both of them were in equally dangerous situations. Up to now, both of them had more than 10 new wounds on their bodies. But the two of them didn't dare to relax. They continued to mock each other as they fought. They wouldn't stop until the other party died. However, from the looks of things, the only path left for the two of them was to perish together. This won't do. Chu Yang saw that the situation wasn't right. He frowned. They can't die. If they die, how will the enmity arise? Why not? If both of them die, as long as their subordinates are still alive, won't the two clans immediately start a war if they go back and report? This is better than both of them being alive, right? If no one dies and the main characters don't die, how can it be considered a great enmity? The sword spirit was a little puzzled. Please familiarize yourself with the domain name. Chu Yang said heavily. As the saying goes, if the master is humiliated, the subordinates will die. If the master dies, the subordinates, what will happen? I dare to bet. If Yi Wubua and 7th Master shall perish together, these people who are fighting now will definitely stop immediately. Then, they'll have a high chance of returning to the forest. Because even if they bring the news back, they'll still die. The sword spirit frowned. That's reasonable. It's not reasonable, it's a fact. If the master is still alive, the subordinates will naturally fight with all their might. But if the master is no longer alive, who will they fight for? Who will they fight for? Especially if they still die in the end. If they don't fight to their death, they'll be killed by the master. Who will go back to die? Chu Yang said, so, the two of them can be seriously injured, but they can't die. The sword spirit blinked and said, if they're seriously injured, it'll be even better. Chu Yang was shocked. He scolded, damn it, you're worse than me? Okay, I'll leave this matter to you. The sword spirit was stunned. Chu Yang added, those people can die. The sword spirit was still stunned. On the battlefield, both sides were already in a frenzy. Besides the thought of killing the other party, there was nothing else in their minds. Yun Shan and Yun Hai were bathed in blood. They were fighting side by side. Yi Wubua's 3 bodyguards gritted their teeth and attacked even harder. Even Brother Ox, who was lying on his brother's back, was also gathering his strength to release the hidden weapons. The two sides were already irreconcilable, and they despised each other. The people from the Shao clan felt that these people from the Yi clan were too despicable and unreasonable. The Yi clan felt that the Shao clan was too shameless. They dared to do it but didn't dare to admit it. The battle had reached its climax. Right at this moment, Yun Shan stabbed out with his sword. His original intention was to protect his brother Kong. Who would have thought that his sword would deviate to the side? His opponent's sword was like the wind, piercing through Kong's lower abdomen at lightning speed. Yun Hai let out a blood-curdling scream. He twisted his body and actually used his palm to stop the sword that had pierced his stomach. The sword in his hand ruthlessly pierced into the man's chest. The energy attached to the two swords exploded in each other's bodies at the same time. One's chest exploded, while the other's lower abdomen exploded with a bloody hole the size of a wash basin. The two of them didn't retreat. Even so, they still locked onto each other and used all their strength to destroy each other. Popping sounds that sounded like popping beans could be heard, and the bones in their bodies were crushed by each other. Both of them grabbed onto different parts of their bodies and twisted them with all their strength. They gritted their teeth and glared at each other. In the end, their eyes condensed at the same time, and they turned into 2 piles of mud that fell together. Their spines, ribs, and shoulders were all crushed by each other. Yun Hai! Yun Shan screamed. His sword had deviated to the side for no reason, causing his brother's death. However, the monarch in front of him who was carrying a person on his back was the same. His body staggered for no reason. Yun Shan's sword, which had already deviated from its original direction, had coincidentally pierced through this person's left thigh. The sword was like a stick of candied hawthorns, piercing through Niu Laosi and Boss Niu who was on his back at the same time. Frenzied sword chi and Xian chi cultivation exploded within these two people's bodies. With a blood-curdling scream, The goateed ox boss was blasted away by the violent explosion of Xian Qi. He was actually torn apart in midair, and couldn't be more dead. Yun Shan pulled out his sword crazily and slashed down crazily. Blood splattered everywhere. The only remaining person on the other side roared angrily and pounced over with all his might. Yun Shan grinned maliciously. He didn't dodge, but used his chest to welcome the opponent's sword. At the same time when the thick sword slashed open his chest, his sword pierced through the opponent's throat. Seventh Master Xiao and Yi Wubo cried out in grief and indignation at the same time. The two of them didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, 3 pairs of their subordinates, who were fighting for their lives just now, would die. The two of them were extremely indignant. Those who could follow the two of them everywhere, which one of them wasn't a hardcore brother who had been with them for many years? The two of them had been through countless battles, and it was unknown how many storms they had weathered together. Today all of them died here. Even if the two of them were cold-blooded, they still felt an intense pain in their hearts. They were so hurt that they went crazy. Seventh Master Xiao. I, Yi Wubo, am absolutely irreconcilable with you. Yi Wubo. From now on I, Seventh Master Xiao, am irreconcilable with you. I won't let go of this bloody debt even if your Xiao clan is annihilated. Even if your Yi clan's ancestral graves are filled up, it won't be able to eliminate the hatred in my heart. Let's fight again. The two of them attacked with their long swords at the same time. They both gritted their teeth. Almost at the same time, Yi Wubo's long sword left his hands. He waved his hands, and black concealed weapons flew out like a swarm of wasps. Seventh Master Xiao forcefully raised his qi. The sword light changed direction, and a dazzling light pillar shot up into the sky. Obviously, the two of them were prepared to fight with their lives on the line. At this moment, the two of them, who were in a frenzy, didn't notice that 2 thin and small short swords had quietly blended into Yi Wubo's concealed weapons. As the two of them collided, the 2 short swords strangely changed their direction. One of them intercepted a flying knife that was going to pierce 7th Master Zhao's heart, while the other short sword appeared from Yi Wubo's hand and blocked 7th Master Zhao's sword that was going to pierce Yi Wubo's throat. The two of them shouted at the same time. More than 20 of Yi Wubo's concealed weapons disappeared into 7th Master Zhao's body. However, 7th Master Zhao's sword pierced into Yi Wubo's left shoulder. With a bang, there was an explosion of energy. Yi Wubo's left arm was separated from his body, along with a rain of blood. Yi Wubo screamed miserably. His face was distorted and he staggered back a few steps. Then he sat on the ground crookedly. At the place where his arm was cut off, blood spurted out like a fountain and his whole body convulsed. He gritted his teeth and screamed. At the same time, he used his right hand to point a few times around his broken arm. The blood flow immediately slowed down. Then he took out a whole bottle of medicine and sprinkled it on his wound. Then he took out another bottle of medicine and stuffed it into his mouth. As he screamed in pain, he chewed and cursed crazily. On the other side, 7th Master Xiao spun and fell from the sky. His whole body was like a blood sac that had been pierced dozens of times, and blood was spurting out. He fell to the ground and rolled a few times. Then he spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood. He wanted to stand up, but he fell down halfway. Then he hugged his right leg with both hands and cried out miserably. One of the hidden weapons had severed the tendons of his right leg. Then, 7th Master Xiao did the same actions as Yi Wubo. Stop the bleeding, apply medicine, eat medicine, and curse. Now, both of them didn't have any strength left. Besides cursing, they couldn't do anything else. They were less than 200 feet apart. If it was in the past, with their cultivation, they would have reached each other before they could even use their martial arts. But now, if they used all their strength, they wouldn't even be able to reach each other in half an hour. Then, as if they had made an agreement, both of them shut their mouths at the same time. They were 200 feet apart. Under the illumination of the fire, both of them stared at each other fiercely. Their eyes were filled with irreconcilable hatred. The flames flickered, illuminating the two men's faces, making them look bright and dark. Both of their faces were stained with blood. Their muscles were convulsing and twisting. They gritted their teeth and looked ferocious and terrifying. They were like two devils who wanted to devour the world, staring at each other fiercely. But neither of them spoke. Neither of them opened their mouths. It was silent. Only the crackling sound of the fire could be heard. After a long time, both of them moved at the same time. Then, they sat down dejectedly at the same time. After another period of time, Seventh Master Shao sheathed his sword, which was full of holes. On the other side, Yi Wuba did the same. Then, as if they were taught by the same master, they used the sheath as a crutch to support their bodies and stood up shakily. Seventh Master Shao didn't say anything. He looked at the fire sadly and reluctantly. Then, he looked at the corpses of Yun Shan and Yun Hai. A drop of tear fell from the corner of his eye. Then he turned around and walked towards the east. Yi Wuba also did the same. He stared at the corpses of his four subordinates for a long time. The ghost fire in his eyes seemed to be burning crazily. Then he turned around and walked towards the west. The two of them staggered, swaying with every step. Just as their figures were about to disappear into the night, they turned their heads at the same time. For pairs of eyes stared at each other fiercely. At this moment, the hatred and resentment in these four pairs of eyes almost condensed into substance. Both of them didn't say anything. But both of them knew that this was a deep hatred that couldn't be resolved. Today's hatred could only be washed away with blood. At this moment, it was no longer important to talk about the reason. After the two of them looked at each other, they turned around at the same time and disappeared into the night. They didn't turn back. There was silence in the fire. After a long time, a black shadow appeared quietly and stood in the fire. "It's really tragic." Chu Yang took a breath. "It's really tragic." The sword spirit breathed a sigh of relief. From this battle, we can see how strong the foundation of the Shao clan and Yi clan is. Chu Yang's face was a little heavy. He said, Seventh Master Shao and Yi Wuba aren't core figures in their respective clans. Both of them are from the second last generation. One can only be ranked 7th, and the other can only be ranked 13th. But the strength of these two is obvious to all. Chu Yang said deeply, "I don't know how the core disciples of these clans will fare." The sword spirit smiled faintly and said, "No matter how the core disciples are like, as long as you walk step by step, you'll meet them sooner or later." "Let's go back." Chu Yang smiled with a heavy heart. His heavy heart wasn't because of the huge forces that he was about to face, but because of the name that 7th Master Shao said during the battle of words between 7th Master Shao and Yi Wuba. "Yi Chuchen. The 100th vote." My hands are trembling and stiff. I'll rest for a while before I start a new chapter. Chapter 843. Chu Yang was thinking intensely in his heart. Yi Chuchen is Master's lover. She's Yi Wuba's sister? Or his biological sister? The Meng clan? A vassal clan of the Yi clan? Master's name is Meng Chaoran, but the name that 7th Master Shao said to be in love with Yi Chuchen is Menggin. But Chu Yang understood immediately. Menggin's clan was exterminated and he escaped from the upper three heavens alone. How would he dare to use his original name? So, it was natural for Menggin to become Meng Chaoran. Chu Yang sighed in his heart. Meng Chaoran finally understood the meaning of Master's detachment. Meng Chaoran had always been indifferent to everything in the world, as if he didn't care about anything. This detachment wasn't innate, nor was it his nature. It was because he had gone through too much pain. The hatred of his clan's extermination, the misery of being separated from his wife, and the pain of being exiled all weighed on him. And the enemy was not only the #1 clan in the world, but also the clan of the woman he loved deeply. Even if he could take revenge, it was still uncertain what would happen between him and Yi Chuchen in the future. After all, the Meng clan was exterminated because of the two of them, and the Yi clan would also be bathed in blood because of the two of them. Could the two of them continue their predestined relationship? Could the grudges in their hearts be eliminated? Could they face each other calmly? Master should be in the upper three heavens now. And he's definitely near the Yi clan. He's definitely not far from Yi Chuchen. Chu Yang was a little anxious. In such a place, there would be many acquaintances around him. Once his whereabouts were exposed, it would be a disaster. I have to end things here as soon as possible, and then go over there to help Master. Chu Yang thought silently in his heart. Master's life is already hard enough. If he still can't spend his life with the person he loves, then it'll be a tragedy to the end. Chu Yang thought, although there's a huge hatred for the Yi clan, it's not appropriate for Master to kill them personally. It's better for me to kill them all. Then, Master won't have any sins. I'll kill them all and then betray Master. Then Yi Chuchen won't blame Master. Chu Yang thought to himself as he walked back. The sword spirit muttered, this Shao clan branch is considered a large place, and it's not far from other clans. Such an intense battle has almost caused the houses of those clans to collapse. Why hasn't anyone come to see what's going on? Chu Yang laughed. Who dares to come and see? With such a big thing happening, everyone couldn't wait to hide. Since he dared to provoke the Shao clan, how could he be ordinary? Come over to check? Isn't that just looking to be silenced? In the night wind, the black-clothed figures sped along. A faint smell of blood and a somber aura spread out along the way. Chu Yang continued to release his biting cold aura into the night wind. Once a person killed someone, after an intense battle, they would have a special aura. This aura would make ordinary people feel uncomfortable when they come into contact with it. And an experienced warrior would immediately know what this person had just done. What Chu Yang was doing now was to disperse this aura. Otherwise, when he went back, he would be stopped before he could even enter his own room. In these few days, after being reminded by Han Xiaoran, Chu Yang had been working hard to cultivate the Thousand Phantom technique. The difficulty of this kind of auxiliary technique wasn't very high. Once a theory was understood, 100 would be understood. And this kind of technique mostly required mental strength. And Chu Yang's current mental strength were undeniably the best in the world. With just a few days' effort, he had already cultivated to the second level of the Thousand Phantom technique. And he was moving towards the third level. If I want you to see my level of cultivation, you can only see my level of cultivation. He could do whatever he wanted. On the way back, when he was about to reach the Purple Crystal's Huichun Hall, the sword spirit took control of his body again. He entered the room lightly and kept the person in the room. Minister Chu laid on the bed peacefully and fell into a sweet dream. As if he hadn't done anything, the next day, the entire flat mountain ridge was turned upside down. The Shao clan branch has been destroyed. Yes, they're all dead. Not a single one is left. It's really tragic. You went to see? Damn you. You're the one who went to see. Don't harm me. You can't say this casually. How would you know if you didn't see? The smell of blood could be smelled from a few miles away. Last night, there was a huge fire, and even the sky was burning red. In the morning, Divine Dr. Chu was in the Purple Crystal's Huichun Hall. Clan Master Huang Shang's face was as gloomy as the sky before a storm. When he walked in, he greeted Divine Dr. Chu with a bitter face. Huang Shang had heard about the Shao clan's branch early in the morning. He flew into a rage on the spot. He really didn't expect that such a big pot of shit would be placed on his head without any warning. The Shao clan and the Huang clan had enmity. The Huang clan had just threatened to deal with the Shao clan yesterday. This wasn't a secret. And yesterday, the Huang clan had just arrived at the Flat Mountain Ridge. Last night, the Shao clan's branch in the Flat Mountain Ridge had been massacred. Who did it? Was there a need to ask? But the problem was that the Huang clan really didn't do it. If it was really done by the Huang clan, then there was nothing to say. The problem was that the Huang clan didn't do it, but was instead made a scapegoat. This was called injustice. To a big clan like the Huang clan, this matter was not only injustice, but also depressing. The biggest problem was that there was no way to explain it. You brought so many people just to play in the Flat Mountain Ridge? What's the point of playing in such a poor and desolate place? They could only swallow this grievance silently and couldn't tell anyone about it. Clan Master Huang, you're early. Divine Dr. Chu greeted him refreshingly. It seems that you look good today. Huang Shang sat down and said dispiritedly, not only do I look good, but I'm also extremely excited. Clan Master Huang, Is there something bothering you? Divine Dr. Chu asked thoughtfully, Did you not sleep well last night? This. Huang Shang opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't say anything. He only had black lines on his forehead as he let out a long sigh. Divine Dr. Chu, I'll leave the dogs to you, Huang Shang sighed and waved his hands. The people behind him immediately carried up 5 big boxes and placed them in front of Chu Yang. Here are 40,000 purple crystals. Divine Dr. Chu, please accept them first. As for the remaining 40,000 purple crystals, I'll immediately send someone to deliver them to you after I go back. The medicinal herbs will be delivered within a month. By then, please take care of them. Chu Yang was stunned. This is so embarrassing. He rubbed his hands. Clan Master Huang, are you going back? Huang Shang sighed. I can't not go back. If I don't go back, I'm afraid that the Huang clan will be overthrown by the Shao clan. This matter is extremely serious. Chu Yang turned pale with fright. What happened? So serious. It's a long story. How would Huang Shang know that the shocked Divine Dr. Chu in front of him was actually the real culprit? He only sighed again and again, looking distressed. Although he was angry at the Shao clan's viciousness and wanted to take revenge, he definitely didn't think of using such a blatant way to take revenge. He knew clearly that although the Huang clan was powerful, it was still a few streets behind the Shao clan. Especially their foundation, they couldn't be compared at all. The Shao clan had tens of thousands of years of foundation. If those old fellows didn't come out, the Shao clan and the Huang clan would be evenly matched. But once those old fellows came out, the Huang clan would immediately be defeated. But now that the curtains had been drawn, how could the elders of the Shao clan not come out as the battle became more and more intense and more people died? When he thought of this, Huang Shang felt a headache coming on. Huang Shang finally left with his wives, leaving only 2 martial saint experts to be Huang Xiaoyou's bodyguards. And they weren't the 2 from last night. The 2 martial saints from last night were both second-stage martial saints. But the 2 who stayed today were second-stage martial saints and fifth-stage martial saints. These 2 people were the sworn brothers of the previous clan master of the Huang clan. One was called Bai Wuji, and the other was called Zitingchong. Contrary to his name, Bai Wuji's face was purple, but Zitingchong's face was like white dough, which was very funny. With these 2 people here, Huang Xiaoyou was basically safe. In addition, Huang Xiaoyou's 2 wives also stayed here. Clan Master Huang's intention was very simple. Although he didn't say it out, everyone understood. If Huang Xiaoyou regained his masculinity, then don't waste any more time and quickly spread out. Anyway, you're useless and only have this little use left. We don't count on you for the clan's prosperity, but on your son. Divine Dr. Chu specially arranged for Huang Xiaoyou to stay in the same room with his 2 wives. This decision was strongly resisted and loudly protested by Huang Xiaoyou, who already felt guilty and had an inferiority complex. But under Divine Dr. Chu's tyranny, Huang Xiaoyou had no choice but to give in. As Huang Shang and the others left the flat mountain ridge, Huang Xiaoyou also started the second course of treatment. The collected centipede legs, venomous snake tongues, poisonous stinging iron cucumber and so on, were all boiled in a big pot by Divine Dr. Chu. The pot was filled with black and shiny medicinal soup, with centipede legs and other things floating on it. Divine Dr. Chu dripped 2 drops of Lust Dragon's blood this time. The medicinal effect was twice as strong as the first course of treatment. But when Huang Xiaoyou smelled the stench of the medicinal soup, he had already vomited, and when he saw the color of the medicinal soup, he was even more scared out of his wits. He dragged his feet on the ground and sat back fiercely. No matter what, he wouldn't go forward, let alone drink it. Divine Dr. Chu frowned, but it didn't work. Huang Xiaoyou shook his head like a rattle drum. I'm a man of my words. If I say I won't drink it, then I won't drink it. Seeing that Divine Dr. Chu was furious, the 2 martial saints caught Huang Xiaoyou and used the method of the previous guards. Pinch his nose and force the medicine down his throat. Then, they immediately operated their martial arts to help him digest the medicine. When they let go of Huang Xiaoyou, he was lying on the ground and twitching. His mouth and eyes were crooked, and he seemed to have lost his will to live. When he heard that he had to drink this medicine for 5 consecutive days, Huang Xiaoyou directly screamed, took off his belt and hung it on the door. Then he couldn't wait to stretch his neck into the room, MP*, as he was too tired yesterday. He was in a daze today. He felt that he woke up and slept and woke up again. He only woke up in the afternoon. When he got up, he realized that he was still far away from the first place. He couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Continue to work hard. The 2 deputy moderators sent a screenshot. At midnight yesterday, everyone had actually cast 1,134 votes. Everyone is too strong. I owe everyone 2 chapters. I'll work overtime today to make up for these 2 chapters. That is to say, I'll update at least 4 chapters today. This is the first chapter. Fight, just one word. I'm fighting, so I hope everyone can accompany me and give me strength. Give me motivation. I sincerely beg everyone for monthly votes. I need it very much. Please continue to be crazy with me. I'll never admit defeat. Chapter 844. Divine Dr. Chu had no choice but to comfort him. After the 3rd course of treatment, the medicine won't stink anymore. Huang Gong's tears flowed down his cheeks as he looked at the sky speechlessly. How unbearable these 5 days would be, but on the 2nd day Huang Xiaoyou was extremely excited. The sky had just turned bright. Divine Dr. Chu had just woken up and was sitting in the purple bamboo forest, breathing in the fresh air. Divine Dr. Chu was shocked by a strange cry. Then he saw Huang Xiaolong rushing out naked into the room of the 2 martial saints. Then he heard from inside, there's a reaction. It's a little hard. Huang Gong's voice was ecstatic. Then he heard the 2 martial saints trembling with excitement. It's true. Damn, it's really a little hard. Then Huang Xiaoyou's voice was heard. Don't touch it. Don't fiddle with it. Embarrassed laughter sounded. Bai Wuji's excited voice was heard. Can you use it now? Huang Xiaoyou's voice was a little depressed. I tried it just now, but it still didn't work. It's almost done. Don't worry, you'll be able to use it soon. Divine Dr. Chu is really a miracle-working doctor. You can even cure this thing. Hearing the sound from inside, Divine Dr. Chu was dumbfounded, and his head bumped into the purple bamboo. Early in the morning, Chu Luo was surprised to see something that she couldn't believe. Huang Xiaoyou, who was scared to death by the stink of the medicine yesterday, actually took the initiative to drink it today. Moreover, he held the bowl with great care, as if he was afraid of spilling a single drop. He gulped down this bowl of medicinal soup, which was as smelly as the septic tank in public toilets. After he finished drinking, he even smacked his lips twice. He then took some water to rinse the bowl before drinking it again, and then the second bowl, rinsing it again after he finished drinking it. Then, with a satisfied expression, he even burped, hummed a tune, and walked away. He actually regained his original arrogance of a hedonistic young master. Chula was stunned. What the hell? Could it be that there's something tasty in the medicine? Chula was perplexed. She gathered her courage and sniffed at the pot. Chula's curiosity could kill a cat. The little girl covered her mouth and rushed out. She couldn't stop herself from vomiting when she reached the outside. She vomited so much that she felt as if her liver and intestines had been cut to pieces. When he stood up again, he looked at Huang Xiaoyou in disbelief. Martial Yin Yang new chapter. This guy was too strong. Eunuch Huang actually enjoyed such a smelly thing and cherished it so much. After drinking the medicine, he even washed the bowl clean before drinking it again, afraid that he would waste even the slightest bit of its medicinal strength. Big brother, is this Duke Huang possessed? Chu Lu asked suspiciously when she saw Chu Yang again. No, he's just too excited. Chu Yang smiled and rubbed the little girl's hair. He said, let me tell you a piece of good news. You're only missing 2 types of medicines. Really? Chu Lu's eyes instantly turned into crescents. Of course it's true. Arler is very lucky. Many kind-hearted people will help you. Chu Yang squinted his eyes and smiled. Chu smiled happily. Doesn't that mean that as long as I recover, I'll be able to practice martial arts very soon? Yes, Chu Yang replied. Then he reacted, you want to practice martial arts? To become a heroine? What heroine? Chu Lu wrinkled her nose. I just don't want to be bullied. By the way, I also don't want to be bullied. Chu Yang laughed. When you recover, I'll definitely give you an unparalleled martial arts technique. You'll be like a dragon soaring into the heavens. It's a phoenix. Chu Lu stared and said, It's a phoenix, huh? Chu Yang broke into a sweat and laughed. Within the next few days, Chu Fian was about to set off with the caravan. Before he left, he came to look for Chu Yang. After considering for a long time, Chu Yang still let Chu Fian go to the Bloodpayers Hall to cancel the 5 types of medicines that he currently had. After all, this was a huge expenditure. Originally, Chu Yang didn't intend to cancel it. After all, these things were heavenly treasures. So be it if he wanted to collect more. Anyway, they were useful. But after hearing about the medicine banquet, Chu Yang wanted to cancel it. The medicine banquet was definitely a place where money was burned. Without sufficient preparation, how could he exchange for good things in the medicine banquet? He couldn't possibly steal everything. Currently, the Chu clan already had the 8 types of medicines that Chu Lu needed to treat her illness. Moreover, the Huang clan had also gotten another one. Sha Xinliang and Qin Baoshan had gotten the Jade Clover Ganoderma and Heavenly Jade Elixir. The Huang clan was about to send the Life Pangolin and Death Water. In addition, the Bloodpayers organization, Jinjian Hall, was also sending a flower over. Currently, only the Color Lotus and Earthly Soul Ginseng were missing. The rewards for these 2 types of medicines would naturally not be cancelled. In less than 2 months, Divine Dr. Chu had already gotten one of the 8 types of medicines that he was originally helpless against. This ability was also shocking. Although his methods were not very open, but the remaining 2 types of medicines were the most important. Because the places where these 2 types of medicines grew were especially hard to find. The Color Lotus had to grow in an extremely cold place. And it had to be in a place where thousands of poisons gathered. This was a problem. Since it was an extremely cold place, it was impossible for thousands of poisons to gather there. And the Earthly Soul Ginseng had to grow in an extremely cold and humid place. And this place had to be where many people had died. It could only grow in a place where the Yin aura couldn't be dispersed for a long time. But in the process of the Earthly Soul Ginseng's growth, there had to be sunlight. This was another contradiction. Since it was humid and cold for a long time, how could there be sunlight in a place where Yin aura couldn't be dispersed? So these 2 types of medicines were the most difficult to find. But Chu Yang felt that there might be some medicines in the medicine banquet. That was where all the elixirs in the world would be gathered. 3 days later, there was finally news. But it wasn't news from the Huang clan or the Yi clan, but from the Shao clan and the Li clan. 4 days ago, which was the day before the battle between Yi Wubua and 7th Master Shao, the Li clan's master, Li Nantung, passed by 8 Corners Mountain and was ambushed by the 3rd master of the Shao clan, Shao Jianhan. In this battle, both sides suffered heavy casualties. Li Nantung survived, but more than half of Shao Jianhan's side died. This battle was like a bugle horn that sounded the monstrous offensive of the 8 superclans against the Li clan. But the Li clan didn't back down. In order to ensure the safety of Li Xiongtu, the Li clan didn't hesitate to do anything. Protecting Li Xiongtu meant protecting the Li clan for 10,000 years. They wouldn't retreat no matter what. Flames of war rose in the Chongtian continent. The Li clan started to be attacked from all directions. The Yi clan, Ling clan, Zhuge clan, Shi clan, Shao clan, Yun clan, Lan clan and Shen clan all attacked at the same time. All the clans adopted the same method. They started to wipe out the Li clan from the periphery. First, they got rid of all the Li clan's branches and businesses to cut off its source of income. Then, they attacked the subsidiary clans of the Li clan and waited for an opportunity to kill the important figures of the Li clan. Gradually, they went inwards and cleared the fields. Although this method would take a long time, it was the best way to get things done once and for all. There was absolutely no need to worry about any fish escaping the net, especially when Li Xiongtu's portrait started to secretly circulate within the clans. The request of the clans was, no matter what, they must remember this face. No matter what, they must kill this person. This was the biggest premise. If Li Xiongtu survived in the end, so what if they killed all the members of the Li clan? Wouldn't it be of no use at all? Not to mention the fact that the clans were attacking the Li clan, the Shao clan had already started to secretly deploy troops in the southeast region. The Shao clan's branch in the flat mountain ridge was destroyed and massacred. And on that day, the clan master of the Huang clan, Huang Shang, entered the flat mountain ridge. Needless to say, what this meant was obvious. Moreover, 7th Master Shao, who was in charge of the Shao clan's branch in this region, was missing. Until now, no one had seen him alive or dead. But the bodies of 7th Master Zhao's 2 capable subordinates were found at the scene. Then, 7th Master Shao must be dead. The Shao clan hadn't suffered such a big loss in so many years. How could they tolerate it? While they sent people out to look for 7th Master Shao, they were already preparing to take revenge on the Huang clan. And the Huang clan was even more heavily fortified and prepared for mobilization. The battle could start at any time. Both sides were in full swing, and it was as if there was no rain. The only thing that could be confirmed was that once the battle started, the flames of war would burn the sky. It wouldn't happen overnight. In the flat mountain ridge, Sha Xinliang and Qin Baoshan were also working hard to reorganize the law enforcement officers and their subordinates. They were preparing all kinds of weapons, hidden weapons, poisons and demonic means as much as possible. At the same time, the 2 of them and their brothers were crazily practicing martial arts. Both of them knew that once Han Shaoran started to take action, there would never be a day of peace. Unless one of them was exterminated, so, if they were more prepared now, they would have more chances of survival in the future. Huang Xia and Lu Gong had already started the 3rd course of treatment. The medicine for the 3rd course of treatment wasn't bitter or smelly, but it was extremely sour. Du Kuang only took a sip, and he couldn't even chew the tofu. Du Kuang didn't even frown as he drank it all. And he drank the medicine on time. He also mixed the dregs with water and drank it. Isn't it just sour? I can bear it. Du Kuang actually became very arrogant. In these few days, Du Kuang was very cooperative. He ate whatever was given to him. His worship and trust for divine Dr. Chu had also reached the extreme. Every morning he would scream in surprise, "It's harder, harder." A wolf-like laughter started to come out from Du Kuang's throat. Such a surprise was absolutely impossible for ordinary people to understand. I've been eunuch for 7 to 8 years. I've never used it before. Now, I'm finally going to have a good time. Du Kuang's face was full of tears. Under such circumstances, how could he not cooperate? Now, even if divine Dr. Chu pointed to a pile of feces and said, "This thing is useful to eat," then Du Kuang would definitely swallow it without frowning. Not to mention taking medicine. Isn't it just a little bitter, smelly and sour? Brothers and sisters, if I didn't get the 1st place in the monthly votes, I'll explode again. Speaking of risking my life, I'm not afraid of anyone. But the recommendation ticket didn't even make it to the front page after 11 p.m. I'm so sad. Don't make me too sad. I've already suffered a lot. I beg for monthly votes, beg for recommendation tickets. Chapter 845. After another 3 days, the Blood Payers Hall sent news that Jinjian Hall had arrived at Flat Mountain Ridge with spray of flowers. At this time, Chu Fian and Chu Failing had already set off. Divine Dr. Chu had no choice but to go personally. Jinjian Hall was an organization of blood payers. There were only 5 of them, but all of them were not ordinary. Moreover, they were brothers from the same mother, and they were ranked beyond the top 200 in the Blood Payers Hall. But this organization was famous for one thing. They were despicable, shameless, insidious, and cunning. Jinjian Hall was best at robbing other blood payers to collect rewards. Or after other blood payers collected their rewards, they would kill them and rob them of the purple crystals. This was the most despicable thing for the people in the martial world. If you have the ability, go find it yourself, fight for it yourself. What kind of ability was it to rob other people's labor? This was also considered as robbing blood payers. After all, the nature of Bloodpayer's organization determined its people's purple crystals and items. They never cared about who submitted the task. As long as you completed the task and got the item, the reward would be given to you. Over the years, Jianghu was notorious. But these 5 people were extremely slippery. They would escape if they couldn't win. But each of them had the ability to escape. No one could do anything to them, so they were free for the time being. Moreover, the 5 of them were despicable and arrogant. They were not willing to submit to anyone, including the big clans that ruled the heavens. They did not even put them in their eyes. Of course, when they saw the people of the big families, Jinjiantang was definitely more obedient than a dog, wagging its tail and drooling its face, trying its best to flatter them. But as soon as the person left, they would curse the whole world. The catchphrase of Nangong Shifeng, the boss of Jinjianhall, was, "Are the big clans all stupid? Have these bastards lived for more than 10,000 years in vain? They don't have any knowledge and courage. For example, this matter. Are they stupid? For example, this matter, how stupid must they be to do it like this? If I'm from a big clan, what will I do?" This guy always made comments after the event. He would only talk nonsense after he understood the cause and effect of everything. Finally, he would add, "I'm really speechless." It never occurred to him that everything he said had already happened. It had already been announced to the world. Even an idiot would know that he shouldn't have done this back then. But why didn't he say it before it happened? Typical belated advice. When someone from a big clan came to settle the score with him, Nangong Shifeng immediately kowtowed and begged for mercy. Tears and snot flowed down his face. He kept repenting and only begged for his life. But after that, he still behaved the same way. Later on, the people of Jianghu gave this guy a saying: "A person who is too shameless is invincible." Not only did he have the word Lei Feng carved on his face, there was even a tattoo of a dog's head on his forehead. Thus, he was called the 3-headed snake. 2 on the top and 1 on the bottom. After offending the Yi clan, he was castrated by the Yi clan. Because of this, its nickname changed to 2-headed snake. If one of its 3 heads was cut off, wouldn't it be 2 heads? Furthermore, Nangong Shifeng's character must have been soaked in the latrine. It was said that this guy's wife ran away with another man and he wore a few green hats. In addition, he was castrated, which led to his psychological perversion, and Jinjianhall was the official name. But when people mentioned these people, they would call them the Silver Sword Hall. But Chu Yang naturally didn't know the whole story. But when he knew that it was Jinjianhall who got spray of flowers, he investigated this organization. He also knew the style of this organization. Naturally, he was on guard. As for Jinjianhall's exorbitant demand of 30,000 purple crystals, he wasn't surprised. Under the guidance of the Bloodpayers Hall, the 5 people of the Jinjianhall finally met with Chu Yang. Their strength was really not weak. They had all reached the monarch level. When Chu Yang saw these 5 people, he was speechless. As expected, Nangong Shifeng's face was covered. But seeing his 4 younger brothers was the same as seeing him. His 4 younger brothers didn't cover their faces. Each of them looked exactly the same: triangular eyes, broom-like eyebrows, bulbous nose, toad mouth, protruding ears, withered yellow hair that curled up sparsely. Their heads were like large single cloves of garlic, and there was a sharp tip on top. At this moment, Chu Yang lowered his head and looked at his crotch with uncertainty. "Damn it, did that thing run out and become a spirit? You're the buyer? You need spray of flowers urgently?" The boss of Jinjianhall, Nangong Shifeng, had his face covered, but his domineering tone couldn't be concealed. His eyes flashed with cold light like a viper's as he sized Chu Yang up. Originally, when Bloodpayers offered a reward, the buyer and seller would never meet face to face. But Chu Yang's reward was 10,000 purple crystals, while Jinjianhall wanted 30,000 purple crystals. The difference was too big, so they came to discuss with the buyer. For safety reasons, Chu Yang covered his face. "It's urgent, but it depends on the price." Chu Yang said lightly, "Even if I were to sell everything I have, I would only be able to offer a reward of more than 10,000 purple crystals. If you can't offer the purple crystals, you still want spray of flowers." Nangong Shifeng snorted and said, For a flower like you, we've suffered a lot before we managed to get it for you. You want to use 10,000 purple crystals to dismiss us? Do you think we're beggars? The enforcer of the Blood Payers Hall frowned and said, 10,000 purple crystals is already quite a lot. Nangong, don't go too far. Nangong Shifeng smiled and said, Big brother, don't be angry. We also want to get the greatest benefit. After all, this trip is extremely tiring. It's all hard-earned money. Of course, everyone's hard work is inevitable. So, I'll also add some rewards at my discretion. But how much does this big brother want? At such a critical juncture, Chu Yang didn't want to complicate matters. He only wanted to quickly hand over the money with one hand and end this matter with the other. He really felt a little nauseous looking at these 5 guys. Being ugly isn't a sin, but if you're ugly and still insist on thinking that you're extraordinary and that you're an excellent duke of the secular world, then that's too nauseating. So, this expert doesn't lack purple crystals? Nangong Shifeng's cold eyes flashed. I still have some. As long as it's not too much, I'll accept it. Chu Yang smiled lightly. 50,000 purple crystals. Nangong Shifeng smiled and stretched out 5 fingers. Nangong, you said 30,000 purple crystals just now. The enforcer of the Blood Payers Hall was furious. Big brother enforcer. The 5 of us almost lost our lives to snatch these from the wolf's den. Look at the wounds on 3rd and 4th brother's legs that were bitten by the wolves. We almost lost our lives. Nangong Shifeng said pitifully. It's too much. Chu Yang said emotionlessly, I don't have so many purple crystals. Then how much do you want? Nangong Shifeng blinked. 20,000 at most. Chu Yang said. Absolutely not. Nangong Shifeng's voice suddenly became fierce. This buyer, are you playing with us brothers? Chu Yang frowned and said, I don't have so many purple crystals. Do you want me to rob you? 50,000 purple crystals. Don't even think about doing this business if there's one less. Nangong Shifeng said viciously, at most, I'll destroy this flower and we'll go our separate ways. Then do as you wish. Chu Yang stood up. I don't want this flower anymore. If you want to kill someone, you don't have to use this flower. Goodbye. Chu Yang walked out without any reluctance. He's had enough. You don't want face. Then don't blame me, King of Hell Chu, for being ruthless. Seeing this buyer turn around and walk away without any reluctance, Nangong Shifeng was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that this guy, who had offered a reward in the Blood Payers Hall, obviously needed this flower very much. Now that they couldn't reach an agreement, he actually didn't want it anymore. What was this saying? How could Nangong Shifeng bear to destroy a flower? This was a huge fortune. If I can't sell it to you, can I sell it to others? But obviously, others couldn't pay such a high price. Not to mention 20,000 purple crystals, they couldn't even reach 10,000 purple crystals. Because this thing was definitely not worth such a high price. For this kind of thing, only those who urgently needed it would pay such a high price. How could Nangong Shifeng not know this principle? Thinking of this, Nangong Shifeng wished he could give himself 2 slaps. 20,000 purple crystals wasn't a small amount. If he had known this, he would have sold it for 20,000 purple crystals. This? Big brother, what is this saying? This? Nangong Shifeng turned around and looked at the enforcer of the Blood Payers Hall, saying with grievance, this person offered a reward in the Blood Payers Hall, but he doesn't want it anymore. This is not taking the Blood Payers Hall seriously. The enforcer said coldly, he really doesn't take the enforcers of the entire southeast region seriously. So what if he doesn't take them seriously? This person was the second in charge of the Blood Payers Hall. That day when Han Shaoran supported the Chu clan, he was also there. And Han Shaoran even specially instructed the 2 in charge of the Blood Payers Hall. Definitely, don't let anything happen to this young master. Since Han Shaoran had already instructed so, then, this young master. Needless to say, how to serve him. Upon hearing the enforcer's words, Nangong Shifeng was instantly dumbfounded. He didn't take the enforcers of the entire southeast region seriously? Nangong Shifeng instantly wanted to cry. Damn, could it be the main figure of the Shao clan? So, I've offended the Shao clan today? Big brother, please say something. Nangong Shifeng almost cried. 20,000 it is. The enforcer spread out his hands and said, I can't help even if I want to. Nangong, let me remind you, this person isn't someone you can afford to offend. Don't have any crooked ideas. You're on your own. As he said, the enforcer sighed and disappeared in a flash. Even if Nangong Shifeng really had crooked ideas previously, he absolutely didn't dare to do so now. He stood there as if he had lost his parents, as if he had lost his soul. Big brother, you're too greedy, you should have sold it for 20,000 purple crystals. 20,000 purple crystals have already exceeded the real value by several times. His few brothers obviously had the same character as him, and instantly started to give advice after the fact. Nangong Shifeng said with a long face, how would I know it would turn out like this? Chapter 846. Book 7, Chapter 122. Do you understand? Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Nangong Shifeng and the other four left the flat mountain ridge and sighed. The topic was, if I had known, I would have done that earlier, but it was too late to say anything now. Since things have come to this, let's leave quickly. One of the five brothers frowned and said, this is the only time we didn't rob. We fought so hard against a pack of wolves and only managed to pick a flower. We thought it was a rare commodity that we could hoard. Who would have thought that we would travel thousands of miles to the southeast to offend someone? And from the looks of it, we offended a big shot. Yes, 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 if this person comes to rob us, we'll be in trouble. Another one suddenly realized. They were all robbers, so they were very cautious about this. We really went for wool and came back on credit, Nangong Shifeng said dejectedly. Forget it, let's go to the Zhuge family and sell this medicine to the medicine banquet. I think we'll earn a lot of purple crystals. The five of them quickened their pace and rushed out of the flat mountain ridge like a gust of wind. They crossed a mountain and turned a corner. Seeing the endless forest in front of them, they heaved a sigh of relief. We're finally out. I was really afraid of being intercepted. One of them wiped his sweat. Yes, you guys have come out. However, this should be enough. A cold voice rang out. Along with this voice, a bleak and vicissitude aura suddenly filled the air. The five of them were shocked. They turned around and saw a figure in black standing under a pine tree in front of them. Looking at his posture, he had been waiting for a long time. It was the sword spirit in charge of the body, waiting here to rob them. Even if I can't buy it, can I rob it? It's you! Nangong Shifeng recognized at a glance that this was the masked man in black just now. He was scared out of his wits. Just from this bleak and vicissitude aura, he knew that he had hit the nail on the head. Feeling the terrifying aura that was like a mountain pressing down on him, he was even more sure that the person he had offended not only had a strong background, but also had a terrifying cultivation. Just by sensing this aura, he understood one thing. If he made a move, he would definitely die without a doubt. The most important reason why the Jinjian Hall had existed for such a long time was that his boss was smooth and slick. When met with a soft approach, he would be hard. When he wanted to be hard, he would be soft. This was the supreme law of the heavenly layer. It's me. The sword spirit chuckled. What a coincidence to meet you again. Senior, what do you want? Nangong Shifeng asked cautiously. Nothing much, the sword spirit said. I miss you, so I wanted to come and have a chat with you. Is that okay? Nangong Shifeng took a step back and was tongue-tied. So we can discuss it again. Actually, 20,000 purple crystals isn't something that isn't negotiable. The sword spirit chuckled. But I can get it without spending a single purple crystal. Do you believe me? I believe you. Nangong Shifeng nodded his head like a chicken pecking at rice. Big brother, you're brilliant, handsome, and elegant. You'll definitely succeed in whatever you want to do. Don't say that you didn't spend a single purple crystal to get this flower. I think you don't even need to waste any effort. Someone will send this flower to you with purple crystals. The sword spirit's eyes lit up. You're giving me purple crystals? Is there such a good thing? Nangong Shifeng said flatteringly, yes, Yes, big brother. Actually, with your unparalleled cultivation, you only need to say a word, and we'll gather enough purple crystals even if we have to break our legs. We'll also have to send over thousands of mountains and rivers to you, the sword spirit said excitedly. Really? I don't know how many purple crystals they'll give me. Nangong Shifeng cried instantly. Senior, how many purple crystals do you think is appropriate? The sword spirit pondered for a while and said, Sigh, it's as if 20,000 purple crystals should be enough. I'll kindly accept it. Nangong Shifeng and his brothers twitched their bulbous noses at the same time, as if 5 heads of garlic were shaking at the same time. They could have earned 20,000 purple crystals, but now they had to pay 20,000 purple crystals? What kind of explanation was this? Nangong Shifeng grinned and said tearfully, But if I don't bring it with me now, don't bring it with you? The sword spirit was instantly furious. He was here to kill and rob, so how could he show mercy? Are you fooling me? At this moment, in the entanglement space, Chu Yang beamed with joy. Wait, I'll deal with them. The sword spirit was startled. But Chu Yang smiled. Don't you see that these 5 people are very tactful? If they were other monarch-level experts, they would have already become corpses. But if you continue to talk like this, they won't die. The sword spirit said, I'll slash them with my sword. You'll really die with your sword. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and said, It's a pity to kill these 5 people. Coincidentally, the medicine banquet is short of people, and I need information. It's rare that they're so obedient. The sword spirit disappeared silently, and Chu Yang regained his consciousness silently. Nangong Shifeng suddenly felt that the strong pressure and vicissitudes of life, as well as the terrifying murderous aura, had disappeared together. Although the black-robed man was still standing in front of him, he obviously didn't want to kill anymore. He was so happy that he wanted to cry. He choked and said, Senior is really magnanimous, boo, Chu Yang sighed. It's not easy for you too, yes? Nangong Shifeng nodded repeatedly. Surviving in the martial world. The 5 of us brothers are not loved by our uncles and uncles. It's really hard to earn a living. Well, where's that flower? Chu Yang dragged his tone. It's here. Nangong Shifeng no longer had the imposing manner of wanting to destroy the flower. He hurriedly took out a small jade box from his bosom and presented it to Chu Yang with both hands. Put it down, let's talk. Chu Yang didn't take it. He gestured for Nangong Shifeng to put it down on the ground. Only then did he sit down on the roots of the pine tree. Nangong Shifeng considerately moved a flat big rock and wiped it clean with his sleeves. Then, he took off his coat and laid it on the flat surface of the rock. He nodded and bowed. Please, take a seat. His expression was flattering, just like a dog that was wagging its head and tail. Yes. You're quite sensible. Chu Yang sat down steadily and crossed his legs. I heard that you don't like the big clans? Chu Yang's main point was this. In terms of character, this guy would have been killed by Chu Yang long ago. But these guys were very good at currying favor. They bullied the weak and feared the strong. They were very slippery. Chu Yang immediately wanted to use them for other purposes. Not only don't I like the big clans, Nangong Shifeng said angrily, we can't make a living because the big clans forced us. He was smart enough to understand the meaning of Chu Yang's words. Yes, I also don't like the big clans. I heard that your power was erased by the Yi clan? Chu Yang asked, who did it? The veins on Nangong Shifeng's forehead bulged. It's that transvestite Yi Shiyu. I offended him last time. He ordered people to catch me, and then, just, cut me off with a sword. How did you offend him? Chu Yang was full of interest. It's a long story. That time, someone mentioned the matter of the Yi clan's daughter, so I said sarcastically that if I knew that Ling Hanwu would quit, I would have let a pair of lovers be together. But now, he killed his own subordinate and didn't get to cozy up to Yi Shiyu. In the end, Yi Shiyu heard it. Nangong Shifeng slapped his own mouth. I'm just a cheap talker. You are indeed a cheap talker. Chu Yang felt the same way. This guy's problem was indeed caused by that bad habit of his. If I knew earlier, how good would it be? It's all because of the hindsight. Do you want to take revenge? Chu Yang asked. Even in my dreams. Nangong Shifeng said affirmatively. Then, he said dejectedly, but now that we are like this, how can we talk about revenge? That transvestite Yi Xiu is vicious. Not only did he cripple me, he also made me unable to see anyone. He tore off the scarf covering his face. Take a look. He tattooed the word, idiot, on my forehead, and even drew a dick on it. But if it weren't for the fact that I was worried about my 4 brothers, I would have killed myself long ago. I'm also a man. When Chu Yang saw this shape, he almost spurted out. I didn't expect that transvestite Yi clan was also a talent. He was actually so mischievous. He was the one who did it both times? Chu Yang felt strange. Yes, once. Nangong Shifeng wanted to cry but had no tears. I've been keeping it a secret. But later, that transvestite saw that no one knew about it, and actually sent people to spread the news that I was done by him. Chu Yang held back his laughter and muttered, "It's just a tattoo. It's easy to get rid of it." Nangong Shifeng widened his eyes in surprise and blinked his eyes. Chu Yang said, "All of you come over." The 5 brothers came over, not knowing what was going on. Chu Yang's hands were as fast as lightning. Pa 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 pa, he tapped on each of their chests. The 5 of them only felt a pain in their chests, which disappeared immediately. Chu Yang took out 5 pills and said, "Everyone, take 1 pill. From now on, you'll work for me." His voice became heavy. "As long as you do your best to work for me, not only will I get rid of your tattoo, I'll also help you take revenge and seek justice from Yi Xiu. I'll also help you recover your lower body." Nangong Shifeng jumped up in surprise and said in a trembling voice, "Really?" Chu Yang snorted and took out a bottle of liquid medicine. He said, "Don't move." With a flash of sword light, a thin layer of skin on Nangong Shifeng's forehead floated down, and the tattoo fell off entirely. Before Nangong Shifeng could scream, he felt a cooling sensation. Half of the liquid medicine had been spilled on his wound. Immediately, he felt an indescribable itch and comfort. Then the other half of the bottle was stuffed into his mouth. Vitality spring water? Nangong Shifeng knew that he was saved. He was so excited that his whole body trembled. He snatched the pill from Chu Yang's hand and swallowed it. When the other 4 heard the words Vitality Spring Water, they swallowed the pills without any instructions. "Elder, what do you want us to do? Just tell us." Nangong Shifeng said. "The medicine banquet will be held when the flowers bloom next spring." Chu Yang said lightly, "I need all of you to go there first. Just do this and that." Nangong Shifeng nodded repeatedly as Chu Yang explained. "Take this half of the dagger. When the time comes, someone will appear at the medicine banquet to look for you with the other half of the dagger. As long as you do what I ask you to do, the person holding the other half of the dagger will give you the antidote for today's poison, and will also cure your unspeakable illness." Chu Yang took out a thumb-long broken dagger and handed it to Nangong Shifeng. He said lightly, "Do you understand? Yesterday, 1,100 votes to make up for yesterday. I reckon that it will continue to explode in the next few days. So, please support me with monthly votes." Chapter 847. Understood. Nangong Shifeng carefully took over half of the dagger, wrapped it up carefully, and put it in his bosom. He didn't look uncomfortable from being coerced. Instead, he was full of excitement. "Nangong Shifeng, don't you feel awkward?" Chu Yang asked. "Your acupoints were sealed by me first, and then you took my poison. No matter what happens, you'll die without a complete corpse. Don't you feel aggrieved after being tempted by me and promising you great benefits to do things for me?" Nangong Shifeng's bloody face actually revealed a smile. He said, "Not at all. Not at all." He didn't show any flattery in his words. His tone was solemn and serious, as if he was sincere. "Why?" Chu Yang was a little interested. He really wanted to understand the mentality of this guy who had just been subdued by him. This would determine his future development. After all, Chu Yang really didn't have anyone to use now. That's why he caught these 5 people. If he had other principles, he wouldn't be willing to use such disreputable people. In Chu Yang's heart, he was still inclined to abandon these 5 people if they were to follow him all the time or to be abandoned according to the situation. Coercion. Actually, when have we not been coerced in this world? Nangong Shifeng smiled a little sadly. All along, when we were young, we were coerced by our livelihood. The 5 of us brothers once had a full 4 years where we didn't have enough to eat every single day. Sometimes we only got a bun for 3 days and the 5 of us ate it. He looked sad. Elder, do you think that we were born like this? Although we're not handsome, we still have some human features. But in those years, we had no choice but to eat rye face mushrooms so that we wouldn't starve to death. Although rye face mushrooms are poisonous, they won't kill people. After eating a lot of them, a person's face will become more terrifying than a rye face mushroom. And hair will become sparse until it's completely gone. Fortunately, we only ate for a month and a half before we were lucky enough to encounter a wild boar that fell from the cliff. But that month had already turned us into something that was neither human nor ghost. Later on, we had a fortuitous encounter and became capable. We no longer had to be coerced for food, but we were coerced by our strength. In order to increase our strength, we had to constantly train. After that, we were coerced for the sake of our reputation. We became ugly, but we cared more about our reputation. That's why we have to stand out and not be looked down upon. But in this layer of heaven, because of our ugly looks, none of the big aristocratic families or big forces are willing to take us in. So we became blood payers. If you become a blood payer, you can earn purple crystals. You can eat and cultivate. But we had to hand in the task. We weren't even emperor-level experts at that time. So, how could we snatch it from others? Since he had come to the blood payers' hall to offer a reward, what kind of simple task would there be? Do you think we can handle it with our cultivation? So we can only look for an opportunity to take advantage of the situation when both sides are injured. Over time, we have been doing this all the way. When others look down on us, we look down on others. When big forces look down on us, we look down on them even more. We can't afford to offend them, but we can afford to hide from them. Along the way, we have been treated coldly and experienced the fickleness of human nature. Even my wife. Actually it's not. That time, I saved a dying old businessman and escorted him home. It was considered as an occasional act of kindness. Actually, it wasn't because the old man said that as long as I escorted him home, he would be willing to give me his precious purple crystals. I escorted him home and took good care of him along the way, fearing that he would die. In the end, the old man thought that I was reliable and said that he would betroth his daughter to me. After I sent him home, he didn't break his promise. At the very last moment, he invited all the guests to a banquet and announced the marriage between his daughter and me, setting us up. I was ugly and had no intention of having a family in this life. But that time, my heart was really moved. Nangong Shifeng had already sunk into his memories. There was a bitter smile at the corner of his mouth. That was the happiest and most peaceful day of my life. At that time, I even thought that as long as this family didn't despise me, I would give up wandering in the martial world and live here with my 4 younger brothers. I would continue to do business in the old man's family business. I wouldn't be involved in any disputes in the martial world and would just treat myself as an ordinary person. As long as my wife was willing to accept me, I would treat her well wholeheartedly, for a lifetime. The old man passed away half a month after he returned home. I buried him as a human and took care of him in his old age. Only then did I know that my fiancée's heart was already with someone else. And the 2 of them were in love with each other and made a vow of love. When she told me about it, she said that if I didn't want to give up, she would give him half of the family property so that he wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing. And she was willing to keep her promise and serve me for a lifetime and be a good wife and mother for me. If I was willing to let her go, I was willing to give her all the family property and she only wanted to be with her lover for a lifetime. Nangong Shifeng shook his head and laughed, but a few drops of tears fell down. Then what did you do? Chu Yang asked. Nangong Shifeng laughed hoarsely. Although he said that he was laughing, It sounded more like he was crying. I, Nangong Shifeng, am ugly. I admit it. Because I'm ugly, no woman is willing to look at me. I admit it. I'm despicable and shameless for my livelihood. I admit it. I can kneel in front of others and lick their shoes for my younger brothers to survive. I admit it. But I'm not so despicable as to force the woman that I like to do something that she doesn't like. Especially when it's a woman's lifelong happiness. That's why I left. I left the small town alone. I didn't want anything and left everything to them. Others said that my wife ran away with someone else. I admit it. Nangong Shifeng laughed. Why would a person like me look for a wife? Isn't that a joke? His voice was bleak and his smile was bleak. Chu Yang sighed. You left just like that? Just like that. Nangong Shifeng laughed. For so many years, even if I passed by that place, I would take a detour. Even if I had to walk a few thousand miles, I would still avoid that place. Not even once. Why? Why don't you go back and take a look? Go and see if she's doing well? Chu Yang frowned and his eyes flashed. Why should I go back? Nangong Shifeng shook his head and laughed. If she's not doing well, what can I do? Rejoice in her misfortune or snatch her away? If she's doing well, what can I do? Do I feel more upset and lost? Nangong Shifeng tried hard to frown and raise his eyebrows. He widened his eyes and controlled the tears that were about to flow out of his eyes. I'm also a very vulgar man. Although I'm uglier than other men, I have the temperament of a man. I've thought of seeing her not doing well and seeing her regret. I hope that when I go back, she'll hug my leg and say that she's regretful. Then I'll kick her away and leave. I've also thought that if I see her living well, I'll go crazy with jealousy and maybe kill both of them. But I just think about it and don't dare to do it. Chu Yang sighed and patted his shoulder. He didn't say anything. At this moment, he suddenly decided to let Nangong Shifeng stay. This was a villain, a despicable villain. A despicable villain who was afraid of death and bullied the weak and the strong. But Chu Yang was moved by his last sentence. A very honest villain. Feeling the warmth of Chu Yang's hand, Nangong Shifeng could feel the warmth and understanding in Chu Yang's pat. He couldn't help but choke with sobs. Just now, you said that it's awkward to coerce, but I don't feel that it's coercion. Because every day is like this. But this time, it's the first time that we're working for a big shot. This is also our best chance. Nangong Shifeng raised his head and looked at Chu Yang frankly. I know that you're just making use of us now, but we really want to do a good job this time. We've been wandering for a generation and really want to find someone to rely on. In this heavens, without any power to protect us, we're like a child without a mother. Life is too hard. He sniffled and said with a self-deprecating smile, if I can earn a living openly in this life, who would be willing to do such a despicable and shameless thing? If I can be happy and stable in this life, who would be willing to wander about? Chu Yang chuckled and said solemnly, as long as you can do this well and be loyal to me in the future, I will give you a happy and stable life in an open and above-board manner. I'll even get rid of the poison of the wry-face mushroom in your brothers' bodies. Nangong Shifeng was overjoyed. Looking at Nangong Shifeng and the other three leaving with gratitude, Chu Yang held the black jade box in his hands and felt a little disappointed for a long time. Nangong Shifeng, Jianghu. In everyone's mouth he was unpardonably evil, but he also had such difficulties. Although Nangong Shifeng didn't say anything, Chu Yang could tell that this guy was afraid of death. He was probably doing this for the sake of his 4 younger brothers. Although the other 4 looked ferocious, he could tell at a glance that they weren't scheming. Without their big brother's care, they wouldn't be able to live for long in this heaven's world. Chu Yang could see the despair in Nangong Shifeng's eyes. A man's head was engraved with something that represented absolute shame, and the most important thing of a man was castrated. His reputation wasn't good, his looks were too ugly, and he fell in love only once in his life, but he still helped someone else. This was really a hopeless life. If it were others, they might not have the courage to continue living. But not only did Nangong Shifeng have to survive, he also had to fight with his 4 brothers. Although their methods were despicable, but With their conditions just like what they said, who would use us for a job that's just and honorable? But if they could live happily and peacefully, who would be willing to wander from place to place? Since you want to live like a rebirth, I'll fulfill your wish this time. Chu Yang thought to himself. Chu Yang held a flower in his hand and rushed back. When he returned to the Purple Crystal's Huichun Hall, he found that the Huang clan's people all looked serious. Even Huang Xiaoyou, who was always unruly, was frowning. What happened? Chu Yang asked. They fought. Huang Xiaoyou sighed. The Xiao clan and your Huang clan fought? Chu Yang was shocked. So fast? How many people died? Is it important who died? Begging for monthly votes? We're about to be attacked. Brothers, hang in there. Hang in there. Brothers at the front line have run out of ammunition and food. Call for backup. Chapter 848. Huang Xiaoyou rolled his eyes. Boss, can you not gloat over my misfortune like this? I know I've offended you, but you don't have to be so obvious. No, I have a bad habit. I get excited when I hear about a fight. Chu Yang said seriously, my blood is boiling. Huang Xiaoyou twitched. I'm so worried that my hair has turned white. And you're still gloating over my misfortune. Quickly tell me, how's the fight going? Chu Yang was in high spirits as he crossed his legs. It turned out that recently, the people of the Xiao clan finally found 7th Master Xiao, who was almost dying, and saved him. At that time, 7th Master Xiao couldn't speak and was unconscious. The Xiao clan was finally furious and directly ordered an attack. The Huang clan had been waiting for a long time. Both sides confronted each other on both sides of the Black River. After a few words, a bloody battle broke out. Both sides had invested a lot of experts, and countless killers were dispatched. The Huang family even issued a bounty for blood payers, offering a huge reward for their help. Currently, the whole southeast region was like a pot of water. Flames had already started to burn under the pot, and it was slowly heating up. As the temperature increased, it would become a pot of rotten porridge sooner or later. By then, both the Xiao clan and the Huang clan would suffer great losses. But there was one thing that Chu Yang couldn't figure out. Why is 7th Master Xiao unconscious? I remember that although his injury is serious, it's definitely not fatal. With 7th Master Xiao's perseverance, he could totally support himself and return to the clan. But he fainted halfway? Is there something fishy about this? In the space, the sword spirit said, Stupid! Yiwu's hidden weapons contain poison. It's already not bad that 7th Master Xiao didn't die. Chu Yang was suddenly enlightened. Then, he said angrily, Why didn't you say so earlier? If 7th Master Xiao died, what should we do? The sword spirit was also a little depressed, because he only thought of it just now. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said so earlier. But there were mistakes in this matter. 7th Master Xiao was unconscious, and they couldn't drag Yiwu out, so they went against the Huang clan first. When they reached a certain level and couldn't stop, even if they knew that it was the Yi clan, they wouldn't be able to back down. If the Yi clan got involved, it would be even better. 3 days later, Chu Yang's dream came true. The Huang family and the Xiao family fought for 3 days. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. On the 3rd day, the Xiao family suddenly sent out their experts and attacked the Huang family's front line. Just as the Huang family was retreating, the Yi family suddenly appeared. More than 300 experts faced the Xiao family's experts head-on and crippled them on the spot, forcing them to retreat. The Huang clan's morale was greatly boosted by the sudden arrival of strong reinforcements. They pursued the Xiao clan's men and actually forced them back to the south of the Black River. They even swept through the Black Pine Forest like a gust of wind and burned the sky. The Yi clan's sudden intervention, and in such a domineering and irreconcilable manner, caught the Xiao clan off guard. After reorganizing their forces, both sides tacitly agreed to stop fighting and began to negotiate. Although the Yi clan was clear about this matter, the Xiao clan was still kept in the dark. How could they come to an agreement? Therefore, after a few discussions, the two sides fell out again. The experts sent by the Yi clan joined forces with the Huang clan and actually suppressed the Xiao clan for a while. At this time, The battle was in a stalemate. If the older generation experts or the secret forces of the Yi clan were not sent out, this battle would not end in a short time. These few days, Chu Yang hung a sign saying that the divine doctor has something to do and will not be seeing patients temporarily. It was simple and clear. He stayed in the law enforcement hall almost every day, waiting for the latest news of the battle. Sha Xinliang hung a map of the upper three heavens that was as big and as wide as the wall on the wall of the law enforcement hall. Qin Baoshan sighed in front of the map. It's really messed up. Look here, the Ling clan and the Li clan are fighting against each other. They don't play big games, but only launch sneak attacks and assassinations every day. Over here, the Xiao clan and the Li clan are fighting. On this side, the Xiao clan and the Huang clan are fighting. The Xiao clan is actually fighting against two sides. So is the Yi clan. The Yi clan is actually fighting against the Xiao clan at the same time. But in the general direction, the two clans are still joining forces to suppress the Li clan. What's going on? On this side, Zhuge Yunwu from the Zhuge clan is gradually reducing the power of the Li clan and going north step by step. This is the most regular one. But why did the Chen clan disappear after attacking once some time ago? And this side? Chu Yang sat at one side, drinking tea and watching Qin Baoshan's analysis. His face was solemn. Net 7 by 24 hours non-stop update pure TXT hand novel. In the tribulation space, the sword spirit sighed deeply. The tide of the heavenly layer has finally been raised by you. Chu Yang insipidly said, it's far from enough now. Only the middle-aged generation and the young generation are participating in the battle. The elders of each clan, and even the elders of their grandfather's generation, haven't come out yet. It's still far from a real riot. Such small skirmishes can only be considered as training for soldiers at best. The sword spirit said, with your current strength, being able to reach this step is already very good. Are you still not satisfied? What can you do with your current cultivation base of 4 swords if you really want to do that? Chu Yang nodded. So I have to find the 5th fragment. The sword spirit said, can you leave now? Now that you have such a big business here, the Huang family, the Xiao family, the Yi family, there's illness, and the law enforcers matter can all hold you back. You can't just leave as you wish. Chu Yang frowned and said, apart from Lu's illness, the rest are not a problem. Lu's illness needs you to treat once every 3 months. It can't be delayed, so she can only follow me. With her delicate physique, the long journey will be a big problem. The sword spirit also frowned. Then if you want to go to the medicine banquet, do you still need to go there in advance? Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to catch up with Lu. That's the only way. Chu Yang said, but before I leave, I must improve the strength of the Chu clan. Otherwise, I won't be at ease. The sword spirit said, yes. It's necessary to improve the strength. But the Chu clan has that elder of yours, so there won't be any problems. If the clan is in a life and death situation, I don't believe that he'd rather die than improve his strength to save the clan. Chu Yang sighed deeply. He thought of Chu Xiaoxin's expression at that time. He was so affectionate. He really had no confidence in this matter. At this moment, Sha Xinliang hurriedly walked in from outside. It's here, it's here. Qin Baoshan said discontentedly, what's here? You're already so old, why don't you have any self-control? You make a fuss whenever you encounter something. Little brother is still here. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? It's the purple cloud pills. Sha Xinliang swallowed his saliva and took out a purple crystal jade bottle from his chest with trembling hands. Qin Baoshan jumped up immediately. Purple cloud pills? Pa, let me see. And he rushed up. Sha Xinliang snorted and said, you're so careless. Look at how weak you are. You're already so old, aren't you ashamed? Chu Yang laughed. The purple cloud pills were placed on the table. Has the law enforcement master taken any action? Qin Baoshan looked at the jade bottle of purple cloud pills and asked Sha Xinliang, is there any news? Tong Wuxin is missing, Sha Xinliang said. Tong Wuxin is missing? Qin Baoshan straightened up suddenly. What happened? After the law enforcement master went back, Tong Wuxin disappeared. Sha Xinliang said implicitly. Oh, Qin Baoshan heaved a sigh of relief. Missing? So be it. Chu Yang thought. It seems that Han Shaoran has already taken action. He went back and controlled Tong Wuxin immediately, as he thought. He picked up the purple crystal jade bottle and unplugged the cork. A spicy smell came into his nose. Chu Yang coughed and said in surprise, "Why is there such a smell?" "This is the smell of purple cloud pills," Qin Baoshan and Sha Xinliang said at the same time. "We've heard about it before." There were a total of purple cloud pills in this small bottle. Obviously, Han Shaoran's meaning was very clear. Chu Yang, Sha Xinliang and Qin Baoshan should have 2 pills. No more, no less. Everyone should share them equally. Every purple cloud pill was wrapped with a layer of wax. But even so, the spicy smell was still enough to make people cry. Chu Yang simply couldn't imagine how those experts who had taken the purple cloud pills to improve their martial powers were able to swallow them. He picked up a purple cloud pill and broke the wax layer. Instantly, the whole room was filled with chili powder and mustard powder. The 3 of them instantly cried, "I was wondering why I've never heard of purple cloud pill. It turns out to be heaven ascending pill." The sword spirit twitched his mouth disdainfully in the tribulation space. Wasn't this medicine abandoned and banned? Why is it still available now? Heaven ascending pill? Chu Yang asked. At that time, the tribulation sword master wanted to improve the strength of his subordinates. So he gathered elixirs from the heavens and earth to refine elixirs. Thus, this medicine was created. It's similar to heavy elixirs, but its effect is overbearing. It's not as gentle and harmless as heavy elixirs. Theoretically, this medicine can increase a person's martial powers by 1,000 years out of thin air. But after a few people took it, they realized that this medicine was actually highly toxic. Even a supreme being would instantly die from the rupture of all the meridians in his body after eating it. This is because the medicinal power of this medicine burst out together. Only by absorbing all the medicinal power at once and circulating it throughout the body and back to the dantian can one obtain this 1,000 years worth of martial powers. But even immortals don't have such wide meridians that can accommodate 1,000 years worth of martial powers at the same time. The sword spirit explained. But Chu Yang asked doubtfully, "I don't understand what you mean." For example, a human's body is like a lake, and the power of this medicine is another, bigger lake. If it's injected slowly and continuously, this lake may be expanded by the impact and accommodate another lake, merging into one big lake. But if such a big lake suddenly falls from the sky in an instant, I'm afraid that the lake on the ground will be gone in an instant and split into pieces. So, this medicine is called Heaven Ascending Pill. Once you take it, you'll ascend to the heavens. In other words, this Heaven Ascending Pill is made from all the great tonics to create an absolutely fatal poison. The sword spirit laughed. "I see." Chu Yang pondered and said, "But it can be eaten now." The sword spirit said, "Let me take a look." Chu Yang put a pill into his bosom, and the sword spirit stole it into the tribulation space. Then, without thinking, the sword spirit swallowed it. Chu Yang was shocked. "Be careful. You'll stuff yourself to death." Only after he said this did he realize. This guy is just a soul, how can he stuff himself to death? Second update. I'll continue to write the third update, begging for monthly votes. Brothers and sisters, the monthly votes list is in jeopardy. I need all of your support. Maybe the one in your hand is the vote that can change the situation. Everyone, please support me. Even if a middle-stage supreme being is outside the cave, as long as the lust dragon doesn't move, he won't be able to discover it. You think that it's easy for you to get those 2 lust dragons, but have you ever thought that this place belongs to Beyond the Heavens sect? How many years has your Beyond the Heavens sect been there? Who had ever seen 2 such huge lust dragons growing so close to each other? If Jing Meng Hun hadn't set the mountain on fire, and burned the stones until they turned red, and forced the lust dragons to come out by themselves, I'm afraid that you wouldn't have been able to see them even in 10 reincarnations. You wouldn't have been able to get so much flesh and inner core of a lust dragon even if you had killed it if you didn't have the tribulation space. Lust flood dragons have to self-detonate before they die, and their inner cores will explode together with their inner cores. Sword Spirit said angrily. He was speechless towards this guy who was pretending to be innocent after getting a bargain. He was holding a precious treasure in his hand, and he was treating it like grass? How could this be true in this world? Chu Yang sweated. So that's how it is. Fortunately, I didn't waste it. Do you think that you can waste this thing as you wish? Sword Spirit said angrily. Do you want to eat more meat or drink more blood? No matter which one it is, your body will be burned to death by the lust poison if you overdo it. Yet you're still rejoicing? You wouldn't have gotten a single strand of hair if this sword spirit hadn't spent so much effort to preserve the corpse of the lust dragon for you. Chu Yang was sweating profusely from being scolded, and he finally flew into a rage out of humiliation. He said angrily, "That's because you wanted me to ask you to preserve it. You just did a little thing, and now you're talking about it endlessly. Why don't you just destroy it?" Sword Spirit was stunned. Sword Master Chu's words were very unreasonable, and he was almost making a scene, but Sword Spirit really didn't dare to do anything. Besides, the tribulation space was Sword Master Chu's space. Sword Spirit could preserve anything, but if he wanted to destroy it, Sword Master Chu didn't agree. Could he destroy it? That was absolutely impossible. So, Sword Spirit was stunned. What was the use of meeting such an unreasonable Sword Master, even if Sword Spirit had great abilities and unparalleled eloquence? Chu Yang smiled. This is called, one strong person can defeat 10 skilled people. Sword Spirit curled his lips and said, one hooligan can deal with 10 righteous sovereigns. That's how it is. Sword Master Chu snorted and said, I'm a hooligan, what can you do about it? Sword Spirit didn't say anything. Now that he had the upper hand, Chu Jianghu was filled with pride as he asked, can we make such a pill? Sword Spirit said listlessly, we have all the other medicines, and even if there's a shortage, we can use Jade Snow Spirit Ginseng and a little bit of mysterious ice jade ointment to make up for it. Now, as long as we have a little bit of powder from Heavenly Star Wood, we can produce it immediately. And from my hands, it'll definitely be much stronger than this stuff. Although the effect will still be reduced from 1,000 years to only 500 years, there'll definitely be no side effects. At most, we'll just have to worry about the spiritual realm and divine soul realm. But we'll definitely not die from it. Chu Yang was overjoyed. This is really great. Actually, we have Heavenly Star Wood too. He thought of the tea box made of Heavenly Star Wood that Elder Chu Xiaoxin had and couldn't help but smile. Of course, Elder Chu Xiaoxin wouldn't be willing to smash all of it. But if he only scraped off a little bit of powder and didn't harm the foundation, Elder Chu Xiaoxin shouldn't be so stingy. Sword Spirit snorted and said, you go and try? That Elder Chu Xiaoxin is very stingy. Scraping off a little bit of powder? He can even scrape off a layer of your skin. Chu Yang smiled mischievously. This is like reading a songbook while riding a donkey. Let's wait and see. I have many ways to make that Elder Chu Xiaoxin voluntarily give me Heavenly Star Wood powder. Sword Spirit snorted. Well, for these few pills, Old Sha and Old Qin should take 2 pills each. There shouldn't be any problem? Chu Yang thought of this matter and asked Sword Spirit. Qin Baoshan is a little stronger. He's an 8th stage martial monarch. It shouldn't be a problem for him to increase his power by 500 years to the peak of the martial monarch level. It shouldn't be a problem for him to break through to the 1st stage of the martial monarch level with the 2nd pill. But you'll need to use silver needles to help him unblock his meridians and expand them. Sword Spirit looked at Qin Baoshan and Sha Xinliang with glowing eyes in the tribulation space. Both of them suddenly felt a chill down their spines. It seemed that a powerful enemy was staring at them. But when they looked around, they didn't find anything. Only Chu Yang lowered his head and seemed to be thinking about how to take the purple cloud pills. Both of them didn't dare to disturb him. Both of them felt strange. What's going on? As for Sha Xinliang, he's only 1 stage lower than Qin Baoshan. It'll be more difficult for him to take the pills. And he'll have to suffer more. But even though he'll be better off dead, he'll still be able to get through it, Sword Spirit continued. Then it's okay. Let the two of them take the pills first. After I've solved the problem for them, we'll immediately return to the Chu clan and ask for the heavenly star wood from our ancestors. Chu Yang said excitedly. Sha Xinliang and Qin Baoshan looked at Chu Yang in deep contemplation anxiously. Both of them knew that as long as Chu Yang said it was okay, there would definitely be no problem for the two of them to take the pills. If Chu Yang said it wasn't okay, the two of them would definitely not take the pills. Other people who took the pills would have at least one high-level martial saint guarding them and helping them to stabilize their meridians. But now, there was only a teenager in front of them. Thinking of this, both of them felt like crying. It's okay, Chu Yang finally raised his head and said. The two of them were excited. But there'll be a pain worse than death. Chu Yang continued. Both of their faces fell. Who'll go first? Chu Yang asked. Chu Yang couldn't wait to go home and refine his own purple cloud pill. I'll go first. I'll go first. Sha Xinliang and Qin Baoshan stepped forward at the same time. Both of them looked at each other with determined eyes. Although the pills they'd never taken before could improve their cultivation, it contained absolute danger. Whoever took the pills first would be in greater danger. And whoever took the pills later would be mentally prepared and experienced. Both of them were rushing to take the pills first because they wanted to take the risks first and create opportunities for the other party. If there was danger, they would be willing to die for their master. Chu Yang's heart warmed up. Both of them were still arguing when Qin Baoshan stepped forward and said, "Now that I'm one stage higher than you, why are you fighting with me?" Without any explanation, Qin Baoshan grabbed the jade bottle and poured out a pill. He broke the wax coating with his 2 fingers and swallowed the pill. Then he sat cross-legged on the ground. Sha Xinliang's words were stuck in his throat. He was afraid that his words would disturb his old buddy's mood. His face turned red and his eyes were full of anxiety. "You bastard, even if you take the pills first, you should be prepared. You swallowed the pills in one gulp. You're looking for death." Sha Xinliang roared angrily in his heart. But if he asked himself honestly, if Qin Baoshan didn't do this just now, the one who would do this would definitely be him. He had even planned it out. They'd been brothers for hundreds of years. Who would want to die in front of his brother? But he didn't want to see his brother die in front of him. That was an unbearable sorrow. "Get out of the way!" Chu Yang shouted. 30 shiny silver needles appeared in his hands at the same time. The silver needles shone with dazzling light, causing pain to the eyes. At the moment when Qin Baoshan's face revealed a trace of pain, Chu Yang slid forward and inserted a silver needle into the Baihui acupoint on Qin Baoshan's head without hesitation. Only the needle handle was left outside. Sha Xinliang shuddered violently and stared blankly at Qin Baoshan. This was an absolutely fatal spot. Yet such long silver needles were inserted into it. Then Chu Yang didn't stop. He inserted a needle into Qin Baoshan's chest, another 3 needles into his dantian and another 3 needles into the back of his head. Then, Chu Yang kicked Qin Baoshan. Qin Baoshan's body spun like a top, and the silver needles in Chu Yang's hands fell on his back like raindrops. To be continued. Chapter 850. With a bang, a strong wave of air suddenly erupted. Qin Baoshan's clothes were instantly torn into pieces. Qin Baoshan's face was red, and his meridians were bulging. At this moment, it was as if a human meridian map had appeared on Qin Baoshan's body. Chu Yang panted, and his forehead was sweating profusely. He looked at Qin Baoshan without blinking, paying attention to every change. Finally, Qin Baoshan's muscles and bones were bulging out like a steamed bun. He was visibly getting fatter. Chu Yang's eyes turned into a pair of copper bells. At this moment, only when Qin Baoshan's body was swollen to the limit could there be an immediate effect, and all the turbulence would return to the dantian instantly. If it was done earlier, the medicinal effect would not be fully absorbed and would be wasted. Moreover, it would be harmful to the human body if it was stored in the body. It was very likely that the blood vessels would be broken, and the person would become a useless person. If it was done later, the person would explode into blood powder. Sha Xinliang's bald head was sweating profusely. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the heavens and the earth, praying silently. Qin Baoshan, who was enduring extreme pain, had not collapsed, but Sha Xinliang was so nervous that he almost collapsed. Qin Baoshan's body continued to swell. Slowly, his muscles were almost transparent, and cracks appeared on the surface of his skin. He was about to explode. Chu Yang's shout was like a clap of thunder. With a kick, Qin Baoshan's body was kicked upside down. Sha Xinliang clearly saw that Qin Baoshan's flesh and blood were bulging out crazily at this moment. He couldn't help but yell heartbreakingly, "No!" At this moment, Chu Yang's hands flashed, and a silver light flashed. The last 3 silver needles were shot out at the same time. 2 of them were inserted into the bottom of Qin Baoshan's feet. The other one was inserted into his dantian, waist, and head. Silver needles were inserted into the 7 fatal acupoints of his body at the same time. Chu Yang's hands trembled like butterflies. 30 silver needles were inserted into Qin Baoshan's body, and the ends of the needles trembled violently at the same time. Some were spiraling, some were swaying, and some were rising and falling slowly. None of the needles were the same. Qin Baoshan's hair suddenly stood up, and his body straightened and swelled up. He remained motionless in this situation. After a long time, the buzzing sound of the silver needles became smaller and smaller. Chu Yang shouted loudly and rushed forward like lightning. Shwa shwa shwa. His figure flashed and 30 silver needles were taken out from Qin Baoshan's body at the same time. Chi chi chi. Qin Baoshan immediately became a black hedgehog. Pitch black blood, or some unknown impurities, crazily spurted out from the 30 acupuncture points. It smelled extremely fishy, drawing a thin black line in the air. With a chi-chi sound, it actually spurted out several feet before hitting the wall. It actually made small black holes on the wall. Qin Baoshan's body began to shrink slowly after the black objects were shot out. Chu Yang looked on nervously. He didn't know when a bowl of water had appeared beside his hand. Even Sha Xinliang didn't notice it. Vitality spring water. Now, the 30 silver needles were soaked in the vitality spring water. There were faint traces of black blood on the silver needle. Then, under the vitality of the vitality spring water, it turned into a faint mist, emitting a fishy smell, and dispersed in the air. Qin Baoshan's body returned to its original state. Sha Xinliang looked on with tears in his eyes. He couldn't help but shout out in surprise. But Chu Yang covered his mouth with a piece of cloth, and he could only whimper. "Don't shout. The medicinal effect isn't over yet." As Chu Yang spoke, Qin Baoshan's body swelled up again. Chu Yang grabbed the silver needles in his hand again. This happened 3 times in a row. Qin Baoshan finally returned to normal. A strange sound like popping beans could be heard from his bones, and an aura of a breakthrough was suddenly emitted. Monarch level. As the aura of a breakthrough surged, it slowly pushed to the peak step by step and then stopped. Indeed, as the sword spirit said, a purple cloud pill could only help Qin Baoshan advance from the beginner of the 8th stage monarch level to the peak of the 8th stage monarch level. Chu Yang couldn't help but click his tongue. This was a cultivation of 500 years. Only 1 level? Was it so difficult to break through the cultivation of the monarch level? 2 streams of muddy mucus spurted out from Qin Baoshan's nostrils like 2 long dragons. With a whoosh, the mucus actually broke through the door of the hall, and flew out with 2 holes as big as his nostrils. 2 sounds of ouch and plop could be heard from far away, and a guy's exasperated voice could be heard, "What the hell? There's actually someone who uses mucus as a hidden weapon. It hurts. It's so smelly. Ouch ouch ouch." An unlucky guy was smashed down by the 2 buckets of mucus. In the room, Chu Yang and Sha Xinliang looked at each other. Qin Baoshan stood up slowly, stretched his limbs, closed his eyes and checked his cultivation. He said, "Thank you, little brother. I've actually broken through to the monarch level. I'm only half a step away from the saint level." Sha Xinliang was overjoyed. "Brother Qin, how do you feel?" Qin Baoshan's face revealed a look of lingering fear, and he said slowly, I feel that I've died 3 times. Sha Xinliang sucked in a cold breath. He knew that Qin Baoshan wasn't exaggerating when he said that he had died 3 times. He really felt that he had died 3 times. What kind of powerful medicinal effect was this? It's okay. Come, open your mouth. You'll get used to it after 3 more times. Chu Yang picked up a purple cloud pill, broke the wax coat without saying anything, and flicked it with his finger. Qin Baoshan was about to speak when the pill went into his mouth. He said exasperatedly, "What the hell? Can't you just let me rest for a while?" He wanted to say, "Can't you just let me rest for a while?" But before he finished his words, the familiar medicinal effect had already begun to brew. His face changed and he hurriedly sat down cross-legged. There was a strong depression on his face. Chu Yang began to expand his acupoints with his silver needles again. His eyes were dignified and he said, "He can't rest at this time. Once he understands, he'll be afraid. By then, it'll be twice the effort for half the result. Before he has time to be afraid, let's quickly destroy him again. Let him be afraid together with him later." Sha Xinliang's face was pale, and he shuddered. He wiped off his cold sweat and said, "Little brother, you're much more ruthless than Law Enforcement Master Han." Chu Yang snorted. Qin Baoshan's side had already reacted. He immediately concentrated and didn't have time to talk anymore. When Chu Yang finished protecting Sha Xinliang with his silver needles twice, Chu Yang was almost exhausted. "Han Shaoren, oh Han Shaoren, you've really found a good job for me," Chu Yang muttered. Qin Baoshan and Sha Xinliang had died 3 times, and Chu Yang was also half dead from exhaustion. Sha Xinliang's cultivation was 1 level lower than Qin Baoshan's, so he suffered more. Chu Yang was also more tired. When Chu Yang finally finished absorbing half of the purple cloud pills, Sha Xinliang was already lying on the ground, panting like a corpse. He even said, "I can still breathe. I'm so damn lucky." Chu Yang lay beside him tiredly and groaned, "You're lucky. Not only have your cultivation improved, but you've also advanced to the martial saint level. But he didn't get any benefits. I'm so tired that I'm almost vomiting blood. And I still have to listen to you two talking here." Author's note: talking about sheep fainting means showing off one's cleverness after getting some benefits. It's the local dialect of Shandong Laiwu. Epilogue: goats pushing the mill, sheep fainting. Their cultivation had indeed advanced to the martial saint level. Qin Baoshan had reached the first stage of the martial saint level. Sha Xinliang had also reached the beginner stage of the first stage of the martial saint level. But there was a big gap between the first stage and the beginner stage. But the two were already very satisfied. They had never thought that they would have a chance to break through to the martial saint level in their lives. The two laughed together and said, "Little brother, let's not talk about formalities between us. In short, as long as you say the word, these two brothers will go through the water, the fire, and the fire. We're not heroes even if we frown." Chu Yang laughed heartily. Then he frowned and reminded them, "Elder brothers, you have to be careful. Although you relied on the violent power of the purple cloud pill to forcefully break through the cultivation barrier and reach the saint level, your mental state, spiritual state, and soul cultivation are still stuck at the current level. So, strictly speaking, you are not saint level yet. If you fight with martial saints of the same level, you'll definitely lose." He said solemnly, "The cultivation of one's mental state and mental state can only be achieved through comprehension or through battle. Both of you have to hurry up. Since the law enforcement master has already laid his hands on Tong Wuxin, the battle will be extended to you at any time. So, there's not much time left for you to improve." The two of them nodded solemnly. Thinking of the upcoming battles, everyone was in a heavy mood. Although their cultivation had improved greatly, they were about to face one of the dominant clans, the Shi clan, which was full of experts. It was really hard to imagine how much a first-stage martial saint could do in a battle. Actually, both of you are about the same level. As long as you fight a few battles with all your strength, both of you will be half dead. It'll be very fast for you to improve." Chu Yang left these words and bade farewell to the two. He grabbed the last purple cloud pill and left the law enforcement hall, ready to rush back to the Chu clan. On the way, he passed by the Purple Crystal's Huichun Hall, but was stopped by Wuji from the Huang clan. He said excitedly, "The 3 medicines that my master needs have arrived." Chu Yang stopped his footsteps. "Absolute Vine, Lifeless Death Water and Life Pangolin have arrived? Your Huang family is really fast." This was really good news coming one after another. Once the gourd was pressed down, the ladle floated up. "Yes, Divine Dr. Chu, when will you start treating my master?" Bai Wuji asked. "Yes, right away. I'll go back to the Chu clan to take the things and make preparations. Suppress the 3 medicines with purple crystals for a night, and we can start treating him tomorrow." Chu Yang was not in the mood to treat Huang Gong's erectile dysfunction. He casually made up a reason and delayed it for a day. "That's great." Bai Wuji didn't know that this was a necessary procedure. His face lit up and he nodded repeatedly, "I'll make preparations immediately." Before he finished his words, Chu Yang had already disappeared. He only left a sentence, "Then I'll go back to make preparations immediately too." Bai Wuji was touched. Looking at Chu Yang's back, he thought, "What a divine doctor. He's so considerate to the patients. He's worthy of admiration." Who would have thought that although this fellow kept saying that he was doing this and that for her husband, what he was doing now had nothing to do with treating her husband's illness. It was completely unrelated. Chapter 851. Chu Yang saw the thatched cottage again. Chu Yang's heart calmed down inexplicably. Then, he remembered something and said to the sword spirit, "It's really strange. Elder Master is at the peak of the 5th stage of Martial Saint, while Bai Wuji is at the middle stage of Martial Saint. But the feeling I get from Elder Master and Bai Wuji are completely different." The sword spirit smiled. "Oh. Bai Wuji gives me the feeling that he's deep and unparalleled. He's like a towering mountain that's unmovable. But Elder Master gives me the feeling that he's ethereal and real. I can't grasp him at all." Chu Yang pondered for a while and said, "If we were to compare the 2 of them, I feel that Bai Wuji is far inferior to Elder Master. What's going on?" The sword spirit laughed somewhat mockingly. "How can Bai Wuji be compared to Chu Xiaoxin? If you use the 2 of them as an example, you are gravely mistaken." Chu Yang asked, "Why?" "Firstly, in terms of pure cultivation, Bai Wuji is as steep as a mountain, while Chu Xiaoxin is as deep as the sea. Mountain and sea, one is still and the other is moving. One is high and the other is low. And their starting points are also different. The mountain has an end while the sea has no end. They can't be compared at all. Secondly, in terms of cultivation, Bai Wuji is at the middle stage of Martial Saint, but Chu Xiaoxin is at the 5th stage of Martial Saint, but he's suppressing it himself. Chu Xiaoxin's spiritual cultivation has already surpassed that of a supreme martial artist. Now, he's at least a 2nd stage supreme martial artist. That's why I said, even if you leave, as long as he's willing to break through, nothing will go wrong. Other than the big clans, I'm afraid only your Chu clan has supreme martial artists. Thirdly, although Bai Wuji is at the middle stage of Martial Saint, he's been under someone for a long time. Chu Xiaoxin, on the other hand, has absolute power in the Chu clan. How can their attitudes be compared? You must know that attitudes determine attitudes, and attitudes determine aura. The sword spirit taught Chu Yang sincerely. Chu Yang humbly listened to his teachings. He knew that from this moment onwards, he'd really started to receive the education of what a real expert is. And there's another point. Bai Wuji cultivates the path of ruthlessness, while Chu Xiaoxin cultivates the path of emotions. There's a huge difference between the 2. Therefore, in the entire southeast region, apart from the Shao clan, the real #1 expert is Chu Xiaoxin. Even though the Huang clan is powerful now, I'm afraid that there might not be any real experts who are better than Chu Xiaoxin. The sword spirit said in a heavy tone, "Wait until you have the opportunity to meet a supreme level expert. Then you'll understand the true form of a supreme level expert. It's useless to tell you now." "I see." Chu Yang finally understood. Now, he was standing in front of the modeled door. After calming himself down, he gently knocked on the door. A sigh came from inside. "Why are you here again?" Chu Yang chuckled and said, "I'm here to pay my respects to elder ancestor." Chu Xiaoxin's voice sounded a little dissatisfied. "You must be up to no good by coming to me. Speak, have you taken a fancy to my starwood?" Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat. This old ancestor's foresight was indeed godly. He actually guessed that Chu Yang was here for the starwood. On second thought, he couldn't help but be speechless. It seemed that the old ancestor didn't have anything good other than this. He chuckled and said, "Elder ancestor, can you let me in first?" Chu Xiaoxin sighed. As expected. Then there was no sound. After a long time, the door creaked open by itself. That courtyard full of weeds appeared in front of Chu Yang again. Chu Yang stepped in carefully, remembering what he said last time. "Step on the green grass, don't step on my withered grass." Step by step he approached the hut. The sword spirit kept muttering in the tribulation space. "This old guy is not easy to talk to. He's extremely stingy. Last time, he didn't even give you some tea. This time, you actually want the starwood. It's not surprising that he'll break your legs." However, the negotiation process left the sword spirit flabbergasted. The conversation was extremely short and clean. "What do you want that for?" "It's useful for the clan to improve its strength." "Alas! I only need a little bit of powder. I'll scrape it from the outermost layer. It won't hurt the inside." "Alas, I really only need a little bit. Did I say that I don't want you to scrape it?" The conversation ended here. Then, Chu Yang took out a small knife and slowly scraped the powder of the starwood. Chu Xiaoxin watched from the side, his face full of pain. But as he watched, Chu Xiaoxin was surprised. "What kind of knife is this? It can actually scrape the starwood." Chu Yang chuckled. "If I didn't have this knife, I wouldn't dare to have any ideas about the starwood. If the old ancestor were to scrape it himself, I probably wouldn't even have a chance." Chu Xiaoxin laughed and scolded, "Little brat. You know me well." Chu Yang laughed and scraped the powder even faster. The sword spirit was taken aback. "He's not willing to scrape a few cups of tea, but he's willing to let you scrape the priceless starwood as you wish." Chu Yang sighed. "Sword spirit, I don't know how you spent your time with the previous tribulation sword masters, or how their heartlessness affected you. So, you've only been a sword spirit for 10,000 years, and not a human spirit. Humans have feelings and concerns. The old ancestor didn't give me tea because it was made by his deceased wife. He wanted to use that tea to support himself and not forget his wife and brothers. This is love. He's allowing me to scrape the starwood now because he's also worried about his descendants. This is also love." Chu Yang said, "Sword spirit, you understand all the techniques, you know all the cultivation realms, and you also understand the difference between the martial way and the heavenly way. In my eyes, you're omnipotent, but the only thing you lack is love, the love of humans." The sword spirit became silent and murmured, "The love of humans. Everything in the world has a spirit, but humans are the masters of everything. Whether it's the 3 stars divine ancestors or the dragon clan or the demon clan, their final path is to transform into humans, and then they can strive for the peak in their human form. Because only through their human form can they understand the 7 realms of cultivation, and only then can they perfect their spiritual cultivation, which then becomes spiritual cultivation, and finally become a complete godly soul. This shows the importance of humans." Chu Yang said deeply, "Sword spirit, you should also have your own cultivation path. If you can't get out of the realm of the sword, I'm afraid you'll never reach the peak." The sword spirit became completely silent this time. The previous tribulation sword masters had all tried their best to tap into the power of the sword spirit to help them achieve great things, but which one of them had ever cared about the sword spirit? Chu Yang's words were said from the bottom of his heart, but to the sword spirit, it was no different from being enlightened. It made the sword spirit faintly touched. Chu Yang finally finished scraping the starwood powder. He knew very well that he only scraped a little bit. When he rolled it up and wrapped it in a fluffy paper bag, it was only the size of a walnut. "Enough?" Chu Xiaoxin was a little surprised. "Enough. Chu Yang straightened up. Why so little? Chu Xiaoxin frowned and looked at Chu Yang inquisitively. There are many things in the world that are worth cherishing. The starwood isn't the most precious thing. The most precious thing is always the reverence and respect in people's hearts. Chu Yang said a little seriously, the starwood is just a container, the tea inside is also just a token of your concern. But what we should cherish the most is your concern for me. Chu Xiaoxin's body shook. He stared at Chu Yang and didn't speak for a long time. After a while, he revealed a gratified look and said, I'm very relieved that the Chu clan has a descendant like you. Chu Yang bowed. Elder, you're flattering me. Chu Xiaoxin seemed to be in a very good mood. He waved his hand and said, Come, drink tea with me. The tea was already soaked. It was still the same 5 teacups. The fragrance of the tea filled the air. Chu Xiaoxin sat upright and looked down at the rising steam. He said, That day, when you were dealing with Chu Feilong, I was right outside the window of your room. I saw with my own eyes that you were sowing discord and making the Yi clan rebel. You killed Chu Feilong and even framed 7th Master Xiao. Chu Yang was shocked. Chu Xiaoxin was also there that day? Chu Yang finally understood the problem of Chu Xiaoxin's strength that the sword spirit mentioned. Han Shaoran was also there that day. But Han Shaoran obviously didn't discover Chu Xiaoxin's presence. You don't have to worry. I won't blame you. Chu Xiaoxin chuckled. I heard the conversation between Chu Feilong and his 2 sons. So I went there. Since you can handle it yourself, of course, I won't interfere. I'm very happy that you've handled this matter, Chu Xiaoxin said. Chu Yang nodded and said, So you're saying that all of Chu Feilong's schemes have been seen through by you? Chu Xiaoxin nodded and sighed, Yes. But you didn't stop him. Chu Yang was a little dissatisfied. Of course I can stop him. But if I stop him, how long can I stop him? After all, I'm old. The clan still needs to be passed down. If I interfere too much, the Chu clan will be destroyed once I die. Chu Xiaoxin sighed and said, If you can't solve the crisis yourselves, then the future clan master of this clan will be Chu Feilong. Chu Xiaoxin said, In your opinion, Chu Feilong is unpardonable. But do you know that Chu Feilong only did something that's common among the big clans? That's all. If a clan wants to develop, strengthen, and rise, the person it needs is never a hero like your father. A hero like your father is too straightforward. Such a person is respectable. But if he's in charge, he could easily lead the entire clan to a dead end. Because there are too many schemes that a hero can't handle. I let your grandfather be the clan master because he's stupid. He's stupid and can't see some things. He's in awe, so he can protect himself. What a clan needs to develop and rise is a hero like Chu Feilong. Only a ruthless and unscrupulous person can be a successful leader. Chu Xiaoxin said, Chu Feilong, it's good that you died. But it's also a pity that you died. He turned to look at Chu Yang, but you're very strange. You're neither a hero nor a hero. You're in between the two. You're more heroic than your father, more cunning than your uncle, and more meticulous than your daughter. I've never seen a person like you in my life. You're really a demon talent. Today's first update. We're only a few votes away from the first place. Everyone, let's work harder and rush up. Today, my comrade is coming over from Jinan. I'm going to pick him up and have dinner together. So, the update at night will be a little late. But no matter how late it is, there will definitely be an update today. And it will be released. Chapter 852. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. If you know how a demon like me came to be and what I've experienced, you won't be surprised anymore. Chu Xiaoxin smiled. If you're born naturally, I won't feel anything. But how can a genius achieve great things without going through hardships? The education that I've received since childhood is much better than yours. Whether it's demeanor or strategy, they're all better than you. But you only have to remember one thing. A hero's true colors can only be seen at the critical moment of life and death. Chu Xiaoxin smiled and said, So, how can one see a person's real courage and confidence without being at the critical moment of life and death? And if you want to compete with the big clans, Victory or defeat will be at the critical moment of life and death. Chu Yang nodded silently. He could completely understand what Chu Xiaoxin meant by victory or defeat is at the critical moment of life and death. It wasn't that time was short, but where was the key to victory or defeat, or where was the key to defeating the enemy? Chu Yang proposed to leave, and Chu Xiaoxin didn't ask him to stay. But when Chu Yang was about to leave the room, he said quietly, "Even if you have experience, you may not have such comprehension. Even if you have such comprehension, you may not have such ability." Chu Yang paused and smiled bitterly, "Because I regard myself as a man. I should be able to go up and down." Chu Xiaoxin let out a long sigh. "After some time, I'll go out to train for a period of time," Chu Yang said quietly, "so, if anything happens, I won't be able to come back in time. Besides, my father and fourth uncle have already set off, and third uncle hasn't returned yet. I'll use the heavenly star wood to make a medicine that can improve their skills. When the time comes, I'll have to trouble you to protect them and help them improve their skills." Chu Xiaoxin nodded slowly. Chu Yang breathed a sigh of relief. He put down his biggest worry and walked out. It was much safer for Chu Xiaoxin to protect them than for him to protect them with his medical skills. Because the supreme martial artist's spiritual power would constantly monitor the changes in the body of the person who took the medicine and make adjustments at any time. But he couldn't do it himself. With the heavenly star wood in hand, the sword spirit got busy. When Chu Yang returned to the Purple Crystal's Huichun Hall, the Huang clan was already waiting anxiously. They were all overjoyed to see Chu Yang. "Where's your medicine? Let me have a look," Divine Dr. Chu said happily. "Here." Bai Wuji took off a piece of white cotton cloth, revealing a purple light underneath. Purple crystals were used as the ground, and purple crystals were used as the blanket. Here was the absolute vine, the lifeless water of death, and the life pangolin. Not bad. Chu Yang carefully examined the 3 medicinal herbs and said, "Have you received the final consultation fee? If they arrive, we'll start the treatment immediately." As soon as he said this, the Huang family and the others looked at each other in dismay. During this period of time, the Huang clan had been embroiled in wars. How would they have the time to pay Divine Dr. Chu? Now that Chu Yang had brought up this issue, it was a real checkmate. Huang Xiaoyou's face instantly turned pale. Not yet." Huang Xiaoyou said weakly. His body was trembling a little. In these few days, he felt that his body was recovering bit by bit, and his masculinity was returning bit by bit. He was extremely excited. But when he heard these words, he felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. "If you don't pay, who's going to treat you?" Chu Yang sighed and said, "Forget it, Duke Huang has been staying here for this period of time. I quite like it." As soon as he said this, Chu Lu immediately covered her mouth. "Other than playing tricks on him, I really can't tell that you like him. It's really difficult to treat the art of severing posterity. First, I'll use bitterness to clear the stomach, tidy up the meridians and calm the spirit. Then, I'll use stench to trigger a reaction from the insidious martial arts. After that, I'll use acid to expel the insidious martial arts to the reachable parts. These 3 steps are definitely worse than death." Chu Yang's face was solemn and he said, "How can ordinary people bear it? But Duke Huang is able to bear it one by one. This shows that Duke Huang has great potential. I'm deeply impressed." He pondered for a while and said, "Duke Huang has such perseverance. You'll definitely achieve great things in the future. But I'll make an exception this time. I'll treat Duke Huang without receiving any consultation fee. If your clan sends the consultation fee to me in the future, I'll accept it. I'll also form a good relationship with Duke Huang, who has a promising future." As soon as he said this, Bai Wuji's face lit up with joy. Huang Xiaoyou was so grateful that his tears almost flowed out. After being here for so long, when had he seen Divine Dr. Chu making an exception? That was absolutely impossible. But not only did Chu Yang take a fancy to him, but he also felt that he had great potential and even made an exception for him. Duke Huang suddenly had a feeling of, a gentleman dies for his bosom friend. Boss. Du Kuang Xiaoyou stepped forward and held Chu Yang's hands tightly. You're my benefactor? I really don't know what to say. As he spoke, Du Kuang's voice choked, and his face was full of gratitude. Chu Yang patted his shoulder generously and said solemnly, Brother, I understand your feelings. Really? Huang Xiaoyou cried loudly, Boss? I've suffered so much all these years. Boss, I can't even spend money in the brothel. It's so hard. You can spend money tomorrow? Chu Yang looked down helplessly. Boo. That's great. I'll go to the brothel tomorrow. Huang Xiaoyou cried bitterly. Suddenly, he felt cold all over and his hair stood on end. As he turned his head, he saw his two wives staring at him like sharp swords. He hurriedly changed his words. I'll go to the brothel tomorrow and smash the brothel. How can there be such a dirty place? Boo-hoo. Chu Yang was full of cold sweat. When the two husbands looked at him just now, even he felt cold all over. He couldn't help but sigh. A woman's jealousy is really the #1 skill in the world. I'll go and refine medicine now. Chu Yang pushed Du Kuang aside and escaped in a flash. Huang Xiaoyou took 2 steps back and stood between the two husbands. His face was pale and he forced a smile. Husbands, please calm down. Due to his guilt and inferiority complex, Du Kuang had no confidence in front of his wives. Husbands, don't worry, I'll never let other women take advantage of me. I'll leave everything to you, get lost. Do we care? The two husbands attacked at the same time, and then left in shame and anger. Ah, Du Kuang screamed, and a pair of panda eyes appeared on his face. Divine Dr. Chu's refining speed was amazing. In just a short time, before the sky turned dark, he had finished refining the medicine. His body was weak, and he carried a purple jade bottle out. Huang Xiaoyou, I'm here. Huang Xiaoyou rushed forward. Boss, I'm here, quick. Chu Yang's hand trembled as he handed over the jade bottle. Quick. Duke Huang Xiaoyou knew that this was the moment when the medicine was refined. How would he dare to neglect it? He quickly took over the jade bottle, opened the bottle cap and stretched his neck. Let Senior Bai unblock your meridians first. Then drink it quickly. Divine Dr. Chu finished his words at this moment. Duke Huang was so shocked that he didn't have time to react. He stretched his neck like a rooster, and with a gulp, the medicine in the jade bottle had already entered his stomach. Only then did he become dazed. I still need to unblock my meridians first? Divine Dr. Chu finally breathed a sigh of relief and sighed deeply. Why are you so rash? Huang Xiaoyou's whole body went soft at once, and he cried miserably, Boss? Will this be harmful? The two saint-level experts were also tongue-tied and dumbfounded. It's not harmful. It's just... Chu Yang sighed. The effect of the medicine is a bit too strong. Huang Xiaoyou was at a loss. Then he felt his whole body heating up. His pale face slowly turned red. Then, the veins on his forehead suddenly bulged, and he roared towards the sky. Oh, everyone was surprised. Then, with a whoosh, a tall tent bulged out from Huang Gong's crotch at a speed that was as fast as lightning. Bai Wuji and Ziteng exclaimed, and their mouths opened widely. He's up. Then, Du Kuang moaned, I'm so uncomfortable. What's going on? It's so uncomfortable. Chu Yang sighed. What do you want to do? What? I want. Huang Xiaoyou finally lost his consciousness. The desire that he didn't dare to speak out for a long time finally erupted from his mouth. What? I want to go to a brothel. Whoa, I want to find 100 girls. Whoa. The medicinal effect of the lust dragon's inner core was definitely the #1 aphrodisiac in the world. Duke Huang's fertility-severing hand had already been eliminated by the lust dragon's blood in these few days. Now, it completely erupted. In just a moment, the evil poison of the fertility-severing hand had already disappeared completely, and Duke Huang lost his consciousness due to the aphrodisiac. Chu Yang's face was full of black lines, and he urged, What are you waiting for? The two martial saints, Bai Wuji and Ziteng, were stunned by Huang Xiaoyou's words. They hadn't come back to their senses yet, and they asked, What? Quickly send him to the bridal chamber. Chu Yang stomped his feet and roared anxiously. Oh, oh, oh! The two martial saints seemed to have just woken up from a dream. They grabbed Huang Xiaoyou, who was making threatening gestures, and flew into the backyard. Duke Huang's urgent roar shook the heavens. Find me a brothel. Find me a few chicks. Ah. Oh. Everyone's face was full of black lines. Duke Huang's wolf-like cries had been ringing for the whole afternoon. Even though the two martial saints tried their best to isolate the sound with their own cultivation, they still couldn't control Duke Huang's extremely excited cries. It's too embarrassing, too embarrassing. The two martial saints stood in the courtyard with their faces and ears red. Their faces were as red as a monkey's butt. 2 whole days passed. Only then did Duke Huang's snoring sound come from his room. It's finally over? The two martial saints wiped off their cold sweat. Looking at Chu Yang, who had a faint smile on his face, they bowed and said, Divine Dr. Chu? Our Huang clan will never forget Divine Dr. Chu's great kindness. Chu Yang laughed mischievously. Never forget? That's very good. To be continued. Chapter 853. Part 7, Chapter 120, Departure. Huang Xiaoyou eventually left the Purple Crystal's Huichun Hall with his men. Chu Yang looked at Huang Xiaoyou's departure and couldn't tell what he felt. This foppish, flamboyant, dissolute, and ridiculous man was finally gone. However, the words he said before he left had touched Chu Yang's heart. Thank you, boss. From today onwards, I'm complete. Before Huang Xiaoyou left, he knelt down and kowtowed to Chu Yang respectfully. I'm not kowtowing for myself, but for the future generations of the Huang clan. I know that you don't like me, and I also look down on my past self. Because I can't see any hope. When a man can't even do the least things that a man should do, hope will no longer be his hope. Everyone looks down on me, including my father and mother. They dote on me and love me, but they look down on me. I'm just a tool to carry on the family line. They won't place any hope on me. But boss, you think highly of me. Although you torment me, you treat me as a human and not as a tool. So, during this period of time, I've drunk bitter, smelly and sour things, but I'm very happy in my heart. Because I'm not a tool here. I'm a patient. Although I'm a patient, I'm a human. Unfortunately, I also want to recover quickly. Or else, I really want to continue living here. Now, I'm going back. My body and aptitude aren't good. So, when I go back this time, I still don't know how to be a human. But I'll do my best to be a tool to carry on the family line. Although I'll feel uncomfortable, I know what I can do. Boss, take care. Huang Xiaoyou will repay your kindness for the rest of my life. Huang Xiaoyou left. The Purple Crystal's Huichun Hall quieted down from the chaos. Before Huang Xiaoyou left, Chu Yang only said one sentence. Actually, it doesn't matter what others think of you. The problem is, you just have to think of yourself as a human. At that time, Huang Xiaoyou's eyes lit up. After Huang Xiaoyou left, Chu Yang smiled and thought for a long time. Finally, he said, Huang Xiaoyou is actually quite cute. Then he stroked Chu Le's hair and said, actually, what everyone needs is respect. But we are destined to be unable to give everyone respect. Chu Le looked at him in confusion. Big brother, what are you talking about? Chu Yang laughed. It's good that you don't understand. He laughed heartily as he walked into the Purple Crystal's Huichun Hall. Chu Le looked at his back view in confusion. She couldn't understand what Chu Yang meant at all. The purple cloud pill has been refined. The sword spirit transmitted this message in his mind. Chu Yang was overjoyed. How much? The sword spirit smiled proudly. 10 more than I had estimated. Chu Yang chuckled. Suddenly, his whole body relaxed. Of the 10 purple cloud pills, he would take 20 for himself and leave the remaining 40 for his family. That would be enough for his family to nurture 20 super experts. These 20 experts would be the safety of the Chu clan. If he went out, he wouldn't have to be on tenterhooks. Chu Yang quietly entered Chu Xiaoxin's small courtyard at midnight. He handed the 40 purple cloud pills to Chu Xiaoxin personally. This is the purple cloud pill. Every pill can raise a monarch-level expert's cultivation by 500 years. Chu Yang's first sentence made Chu Xiaoxin stand up in shock. What? Chu Xiaoxin looked at the purple crystal jade bottle in his hands, his eyes round. This was the first time in so many years that Chu Xiaoxin was so surprised. The legendary purple cloud pill was the ultimate secret for the law enforcement officers to nurture experts. Of course, Chu Xiaoxin knew about the effects of the purple cloud pill. But he didn't expect Chu Yang to get 40 of them at once. I've calculated carefully. The Chu clan now has 10 monarch-level experts and 2 martial saint-level experts. Chu Yang said, so, I've allocated 2 pills to each of them. That is to say, each of them can raise their cultivation by 1,000 years. Chu Xiaoxin's face was dull. As for the other 4 pills, they're for third uncle and fourth uncle. Third uncle isn't at home, so I don't know his current cultivation. Third uncle's cultivation hasn't reached the monarch level yet, so he can't take them yet. He can only prepare them in advance. This purple cloud pill must be guarded by an absolute expert to ensure that the person who takes it will be safe. The only one who fulfills this condition is you, elder, Chu Yang said softly. Chu Xiaoxin raised his head and exhaled deeply. I understand what you mean. Although I'm unwilling, this is after all an opportunity for our Chu clan to rise up completely. Chu Yang smiled. So, I can only rest assured if you're watching over me. Chu Xiaoxin stood still in a daze. He understood what Chu Yang meant. To take the purple cloud pill, one must be guarded by a supreme martial artist. But he wasn't a supreme martial artist yet. So, he had to raise his cultivation in the shortest time possible. This was tantamount to breaking his unending persistence, completely shattering his wish to die with the world after drinking the tea. But this was the purple cloud pill. Maybe the Chu clan would really rise up because of this opportunity and become the master of the heavenly layer, or a force like the great clan. This was the deepest wish of the Chu clan's ancestors. The most beautiful yearning. How could he give it up? From today onwards, I'm prepared to go through the Black Pine Forest, cross the Black River, enter the Qingyang Mountain and all the way out of the southeast. I'll travel the world and increase my strength, Chu Yang said quietly. I won't be able to grow up if I only stay in this flat mountain ridge. Chu Xiaoxin nodded slowly. Okay. I'll take Le with me, Chu Yang said. Her illness can't be delayed. I'll bring all the medicines and go out to find the last ones. Once I've found all of them, I'll treat her on the spot. But Chu Xiaoxin nodded and agreed. It's best to take the purple cloud pill 1 month after I leave, Chu Yang reminded. You don't want people to know that this has something to do with you? Chu Xiaoxin finally turned to look at him. Yes, Chu Yang said affirmatively. Good. Chu Xiaoxin nodded slowly with a heavy heart. The two became silent at the same time. They stopped talking. After a full hour, Chu Yang said in a low voice, Elder, do you have any other instructions? Chu Xiaoxin walked slowly to the wall and stood still. With his hands behind his back, he raised his head and stared at the portrait of his deceased wife on the wall for a long time. His eyes were filled with helplessness and passion. After a long time, he said softly, This time, you mustn't be soft-hearted. With me in the Chu clan, you can rest assured. Chu Xiaoxin's figure stood tall. With his hands behind his back and his back facing Chu Yang, he didn't look back. His expression was bleak and lonely. But then, a kind of aura of supremacy rose up. He said slowly, even if the Shao clan attacks with all their strength, I can also ensure that the Chu clan won't fall. His body suddenly emitted a crisscrossing 7-colored light, as if he was suddenly burned by a 7-colored flame. His cultivation, which had been stagnant for a long time and had been forcibly suppressed and sealed by himself, began to recover vigorously. I'm sorry, Elder. Chu Yang stood up and bowed deeply. He knew how reluctant Chu Xiaoxin was to make such a decision to raise his cultivation. Chu Xiaoxin said lightly, I'm from the Chu clan. Chu Yang straightened up. Until Chu Yang walked out, Chu Xiaoxin didn't turn back. His aura rose crazily, and his power rose crazily. But his eyes were still staring affectionately at the portrait on the wall. Just like that, he continued to stand there and watch. The spiritual energy of the universe above the entire flat mountain ridge began to gather violently, condensing towards this desolate little courtyard. Chu Xiaoxin's clothes fluttered even though there was no wind. With his hands behind his back, his expression didn't change. But his aura became more and more terrifying until it was oppressive. Chu Yang returned to his parents' courtyard. He told his mother, Yang Rulin, about his plans. Although Yang Rulin was reluctant and worried, she knew that her son was telling the truth. After confirming that Chu Yang's strength had completely recovered, Yang Rulin agreed helplessly. Then she informed Chu Lu's mother, Duan Shui. The two clans decided to send Chu Yang and Chu Lu off the next day. The two mothers talked to their children for the whole night. In the early morning, when Chu Yang walked out of his mother's room, he felt that his shoulders were wet. Those were his mother's tears. On this day, the two mothers were arranging their children's necessities for the trip. They even prepared mosquito-repellent incense for the night. Each of them even had a big bag of shoes and clothes. Seeing that the carriage was almost full, the two mothers still felt that there were many things that they didn't put in. On the morning of the third day, the carriage stopped at the entrance of the Chu family's house. Two majestic black horses were harnessed energetically. Chu Yang and Chu Lu stood at the door. Chu Xiongqing and the others also stood at the door, looking at the two of them with complicated expressions. Yang Rulin walked up, her eyes full of reluctance. She tiptoed and tidied her son's hair, headscarf, and clothes. Then she took 2 steps back, sized him up, and went forward to tidy him up. Her hands were trembling quietly, and so were her lips. But she didn't say anything. Duan Shi was also doing the same at the side. After a long time, seeing that time had passed and the sun had shone brightly, Yang Rulin finally took a step back. Looking at her son in front of her, her eyes quickly turned red. She took 2 steps forward again, stretched out her hands, and quietly hugged her son in her arms. Chu Yang was tall. Yang Rulin was considered tall among girls, but Chu Yang was still taller than her by a head. Yang Rulin pressed her face against her son's chest, as if listening to his heartbeat carefully. Finally, she took a step back quietly. Her eyes were red, but she smiled faintly and said softly, "Come back early when you're done playing outside." Chu Yang nodded heavily. Yang Rulin took 3 steps back and smiled faintly. "Let's go." Chu Yang and Chu Lu knelt down and kowtowed. Then they stood up. Chu Lu's eyes were red, and she pursed her lips as she entered the carriage. Chu Yang leaped up and got on the horse. With a whip, the 2 horses started to move at the same time. The carriage started to move slowly, gradually accelerating. Chu Yang didn't dare to stay any longer, and he didn't dare to turn back. He was afraid that if he turned back, he would melt in his mother's eyes, and he wouldn't bear to leave anymore. The carriage turned the corners smoothly but quickly, disappearing from everyone's sight. Yang Rulin was still waving her hands. After a long time, when the dust had settled, Yang Rulin quietly put down her hands. She only felt that her heart was suddenly empty. The tears that she had been holding back finally came out. She covered her face with her hands and ran into the door. Yang, when will you come back? It's past 4 o'clock now. I'm afraid that I won't be able to come out by the 4th o'clock. I'll have to come back around 5:30 or 6 o'clock. At hashtag Chapter 854. Just as Chu Yang was about to walk out of the flat mountain ridge, the originally sunny weather suddenly turned dark and cloudy all of a sudden. Dark clouds gathered from all directions as fast as lightning, gathering above the Chu clan as if they were running for their lives. The dark clouds in the sky became denser and denser. They rotated slowly and pressed lower and lower. A vortex suddenly appeared in the clouds in the sky. The vortex became more and more rapid. Gradually, it formed a huge eye. With the sound of a thunderclap, a thick, curved bolt of lightning suddenly wedged itself into the Chu family. With a boom, the earth shook violently. Then, the lightning in the sky was like a silver snake dancing wildly, crazily striking down without stopping. Chu Yang stood on the horse's back and looked into the distance. He asked in bewilderment, "What happened?" The sword spirit smiled calmly. Chu Xiaoxin has broken through to the supreme martial artist level. In the Chu clan, in that small courtyard full of thatch, in that low thatch house, Chu Xiaoxin stood quietly in front of the portrait with his hands behind his back. His eyes were affectionate and focused. Lightning struck down. Chu Xiaoxin looked at the woman in the portrait who was smiling gently. His face was bitter and painful. He closed his eyes and said softly, "I'm sorry. I can't go and find you at that time." The lightning struck down and lit up the whole world that was shrouded in dark clouds. The roof of the thatched hut suddenly disappeared. That lightning struck right on top of Chu Xiaoxin's head. Chu Xiaoxin stood with his eyes closed. A teardrop flowed out from his eyes. Even though the lightning struck down, he was safe and sound. It was just that his expression became more and more painful. That was the pain and contradiction in his heart. Lightning struck down crazily on top of his head one after another. Then it dissipated. He stood still with his hands behind his back. He was enduring the baptism of the power of heaven and earth. He opened his eyes and looked at the portrait in front of him. The lightning bolts danced wildly and the portrait moved slightly. The clothes of the woman in the portrait fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were bright and her teeth were white. Her eyes were affectionate and she seemed to be talking to him. Chu Xiaoxin groaned painfully and said, "Are you okay?" The portrait floated up. Her eyes were gentle. "Aren't you okay?" Chu Xiaoxin asked painfully. The eyes of the portrait were gentle, and the expression was gentle. It floated up gently as if it was denying it. Lightning, accompanied by the rumbling of thunder, exploded above his head. Suddenly, a strong wind blew and torrential rain poured down. However, not a single drop of rain fell within 3 feet of Chu Xiaoxin and the portrait. "Do you blame me?" Chu Xiaoxin continued to ask. The portrait seemed to be deep in thought. Then a gust of wind blew and the portrait fluttered. The clothes of the person in the portrait fluttered, and the gaze in her eyes seemed to become tender and affectionate. Chu Xiaoxin let out a long sigh. "I've missed you so much all these years." All of a sudden, he let out a long howl and raised his head. His long hair stood on end, and he opened his arms. Facing the might of the thunder and lightning that filled the sky, he shouted with a heart-wrenching voice, "I miss you so much." His voice was filled with sorrow, helplessness, longing, and despair. It turned into a thunderous roar in the sky. Dozens of lightning bolts rained down on his head like a string of pearls. It smashed down. The entire earth was shaking violently. At the boundary of flat mountain ridge, Chu Yang stood on a high slope and looked into the distance. That heart-wrenching shout came from afar. Chu Yang stood solemnly and said silently in his heart, "Elder Master, it's been hard on you." The sword spirit was also feeling the artistic conception. He said deeply, "Have you heard it?" Chu Yang said, "What?" The sword spirit sighed and said, "Have you heard the pain of the path of emotions?" Chu Yang stared in the direction of the thunder and lightning and said deeply, "The pain is because you've been too happy in the past. As long as you've had such unforgettable happiness in your life, even if you're in pain now, you're still happy." The sword spirit became silent. The thunder and lightning stopped. The dark clouds in the sky dissipated quickly and scattered in all directions. In the blink of an eye, the sun shone again and the mountains and rivers were beautiful. Chu Yang got on the horse and shouted, "Go!" The horse raised its hooves and went away with a long neigh. Inside the carriage, the frail Chu Lu was leaning against the soft bedding. Her eyes were red, and her fair hands were gripping the armrest tightly. Her knuckles were turning white from gripping it so tightly that they were turning white. This time, she would follow her elder brother into an unknown journey of life. The little girl's heart was full of sorrow, confusion, and excitement. She just didn't know what was waiting for her along the way. In the law enforcement hall of Flat Mountain Ridge, Sha Xinliang and Qin Baoshan stood on a high point and looked up. "Little brother has set off," Sha Xinliang said with a hoarse voice. "Little brother shouldn't be restrained in this flat mountain ridge," Qin Baoshan said with his hands behind his back. "His world should be the heavens." Sha Xinliang laughed. We'll meet little brother again in this martial world one day. Qin Baoshan said affirmatively, I have this feeling. Sha Xinliang sighed and said, yes, law enforcement master has helped us improve our strength. He won't let us stay here. The two looked at each other and smiled. They were both thinking, what will it be like when we meet the law enforcement master and little brother next time? The carriage sped past, leaving a long trail of smoke on the mountain road. Chu Yang rode on the horse quietly. He was motionless and his back was straight. His whole body was like a sharp sword erected on the horse. He was dressed in black. His eyebrows were sword-like and his black hair was floating behind his head. His face was cold and motionless. His eyes were focused and vigilant. The carriage had been moving forward quickly for 6 hours. Chu Yang didn't say anything. It seemed that he could use this posture and this speed to travel for thousands of miles. The sun was already high up in the sky. In front of him, there was a patch of black. Chu Yang's eyes were dignified. He used his hand to cover his eyes and looked over. It seemed that the pine trees on that side of the mountain were darker and darker in color. They were also denser than this side of the mountain. This should be the Black Pine Mountain Ridge. We'll reach the Black Pine Forest after we pass this 300 miles long mountain range. Chu Yang looked at the mountain in front of him seriously. The Black Pine Forest is the battlefield between the Shao clan and the Huang clan. Chu Yang's brows were tightly knitted. With my current strength and with wanting to cross this battlefield is no different from a fool's dream. But I must pass through it. We don't have to take this route. But if we don't, the journey will be 3 days longer. Moreover, I also want to see how the battle between the Shao clan, the Huang clan and the Yi clan is like. Chu Yang shook his head and laughed self-mockingly. The carriage moved forward slowly and stopped under the shade of a tree. Chu Yang got off the horse and carried Chu Le out. He placed her on the ground and said, be good and wait. I'll start cooking. I'll make sure you eat till your mouth is full of oil. Chu Le looked a little tired and said, but I'm starving. She patted her belly, blinked and smiled. Big brother, how's your culinary skills? I'm the best chef in the heavens. Chu Yang neatly used a few stones to prop up the potholder. Then he spread out his hands, and the spirit energy of the world gradually converged. It slowly formed into a mist. Then it changed into drops of clear water and entered the iron pot. That day when he saw Chu Xiaoxin using this method to make tea, he secretly learned it from him. Naturally, his speed was 1,000,000 times slower than Chu Xiaoxin's. However, with Chu Le's current physical condition, she needed this kind of water to lift her spirits and nourish her body. Only then could she use some vitality spring water. A flame started burning at the bottom of the pot. While the water was boiling, Chu Yang quickly went out and came back with 2 plump wild rabbits in his hands. He cleaned them up quickly, skinned them and removed their bones. He set up a rack at one side and put on the wild rabbits. He skillfully applied various ingredients on them and started to roast them. When the water in the pot boiled, the wild rabbits on the rack were also roasted until they were tender and yellow. An alluring fragrance slowly spread out. The plump wild rabbits sizzled on the rack and the oil from the roast dripped into the fire, making crackling sounds. However, it became even more fragrant. Chu Le couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. She looked at the wild rabbits greedily and stuck out her little tongue to lick her lips. Obviously, this girl was craving for it. It smells so good, Chu Le said. Then he realized that at the same time as he spoke, someone else also said the same thing. Chu Yang was shocked. He looked up and saw a man in black standing quietly in the shadow 100 feet away. He wrinkled his nose and sniffed in the direction of the wild rabbits. This person wasn't far away, but Chu Yang didn't notice him. Although he was busy roasting the meat and was a little distracted, with Chu Yang's spiritual energy, he didn't notice when this person came. This showed how powerful this person was. Chu Yang stood up and smiled warmly. Brother, I think you haven't eaten yet. If I'm lucky, can I treat you to a meal? That person looked at him and laughed with some interest. He said in a clear voice, but I wonder how much this meal costs? Chu Yang smiled gently. I think you can tell that although I'm not very rich, I'm not very short of money either. Little brother, you're very straightforward. The man in black laughed and walked over. This person looked to be in his 30s or 40s. He was tall and a little thin. His face was a little pale, as if he hadn't seen the sun for a long time. His eyes were gentle and one couldn't tell that he had any cultivation. He was casually holding a tattered scabbard in his hand. There were already frayed edges on the edges of his black clothes. It was obvious that he had been wearing them for a long time, but they were very clean. This person's face was very ordinary, so ordinary that one wouldn't be able to recognize him if he was thrown into a crowd. But Chu Yang asked the sword spirit to observe carefully and confirmed that this person didn't disguise himself. This was his original appearance. Little brother, what's your name? This person greeted Chu Yang as if they were close friends. He casually stuffed a piece of firewood into the fire and smiled at Chu Lu. Little girl, you're so pretty. Chu Lu blushed and hid beside Chu Yang. My surname is Chu. Chu Yang said, May I know your surname? That person laughed. My surname is Wei. You can call me Big Brother Wei. His brows relaxed as he looked at the wild rabbits on the fire. He seemed to be drooling. It's really fragrant. Chu Yang's heart flashed. Surname Wei? Expert? Who is he? The 4th chapter was finally completed. I really didn't expect to stay up all night. I really can't afford to slow down my writing speed. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.